541. The immortal ancestor takes action, and the simulation ends. Breaking through the waves, the mysterious old man. Yu turned to look at Yuzan, exclaiming in shock, "You are the immortal ancestor." Yuzan stroked his beard and said, "They are all just empty titles, like floating clouds." Then, he added, "It's not impossible for you, little friend, to survive." Upon hearing this, your expression brightened. It seemed this immortal ancestor was easier to talk to than imagined. But, Yuzan changed the subject, "I must first see your true body before making a decision." After he finished speaking, your Tao body stiffened and became unable to move. Then, it followed him, leaving the immortal ship and heading towards the location of your true body. After you left, the old boatman muttered, "Young man, don't blame me. I already tried to stop you from boarding the ship." Yuzan created lotuses with each step he took. Seemingly slow, in reality, each step covered hundreds of millions of miles. In just a few short steps, he arrived before your true body. "Greetings, immortal ancestor." Your true body bowed to him. Yuzan carefully examined you, then shook his head and said, "Your aptitude is good, but unfortunately, you've taken a crooked path. You've sacrificed too many emperor stars, accumulating too much world-destroying power. There's no turning back now. Very well, let me transcend you." Yuzan extended his jade-like palm. A strong warning surged in your mind, and you were about to resist. But then, the world suddenly grew dark. Yuzan's palm descended like a collapsing great realm, pressing down with a thunderous roar. You died. Lu Chengsheng looked at the end of the simulator and thought to himself, "It seems I still can't avoid this calamity." The immortal ancestor wanting to kill him was definitely not as simple as just the world-destroying power. In the simulation, after Lu Chengsheng sacrificed Eastern arrival Buddha reverence, his memories showed that he was about to become the epic child in the future, but he died at the hands of the demonic Immortal Venerable. And the demonic Immortal Venerable was one of the immortal ancestor's people. Therefore, whether it was the epic child or the child of extinction, both were enemies of the immortal ancestor. More accurately, they were stumbling blocks on his path to becoming an immortal emperor. However, the simulation did not show the immortal ancestor's realm. He wondered if he was at the peak of Immortal Venerable or a quasi-immortal emperor. The former would be better, but the latter would be much more troublesome. It seemed that in the next simulation, he couldn't walk the path of the demon star before he had the strength to contend with the immortal ancestor. As long as he didn't become a demon star or the child of extinction. Even if he broke through to Immortal Venerable, the threat to the immortal ancestor should not be significant. It was unlikely to attract the demonic Immortal Venerable or the immortal ancestor to make a move. Of course, Lu Chengsheng was originally a kind-hearted person, and becoming a demon star was not his wish, it was more a matter of circumstances. In the future, he might as well go back to his old profession, helping others. Open black lens bracket. The simulation has ended. You can keep one of the following. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket 1. Your cultivation realm at 137 years old. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket 2. Your cultivation experience at 137 years old. Close black lens bracket. In this simulation, he went from quasi-immortal emperor to half-step immortal exalted. And the myriad laws divine rule also successfully advanced to the king of divine laws and transformed into Tao principles. In the simulation, after advancing to the king of divine laws, it caused quite a stir. It attracted many immortal venerables to search everywhere. Later, a certain aura from the 9 heavens stopped everyone's search. He wondered if this person was the old boatman and if he would still make a move in reality. However, even if he didn't make a move, with Lu Chengsheng's strength, he could evade most immortal venerables' detection. After thinking it through, Lu Chengsheng made his choice directly. "I choose one." After Lu Chengsheng made his choice. Rumble. His aura began to grow rapidly. Within his sea of consciousness, the perfect ancestral court of 27 structures was instantly opened. Lu Chengsheng's realm broke through the Immortal Emperor realm barrier from quasi-immortal emperor in one go, continuously ascending 11 times, reaching the half-step immortal exalted realm. Lu Chengsheng's divine soul, immortal power, and physical body all began to transform, advancing into a Tao soul, Tao power, and great Tao body. The last to change was Lu Chengsheng's myriad laws divine rule. It directly ascended to the level of the king of divine laws. Suddenly, the immortal realm rumbled, various auspicious lights and auspicious colors cascaded down, and various phenomena appeared. It was as if it was the center of heaven and earth. The moment it appeared, the divine laws within the immortal realm transformed into wisps of divine light, like countless waterfalls hanging in the sky, worshipping their king. Such a magnificent and immense phenomenon attracted the attention of countless beings in the immortal realm. This kind of phenomenon was beyond imagination. Even breaking through to Immortal Venerable wouldn't cause such a huge omen. Heavens, could this be the manifestation of the King of Divine Laws? How could this be? No, the King of Divine Laws cannot be cultivated acquired. But if it's not the King of Divine Laws, then how could such a phenomenon appear? All beings in the 9 heavens and 10 earths and the foreign realm were shaken, their eyes filled with fear. Most of the top 3,000 divine laws were innate divine laws. Only a very small portion was created by acquired beings, and most of them were ranked lower, with the highest ranked only in the 800s. How could a king of divine laws suddenly appear? And what was even more alarming was that this change was far from over. The king of divine laws was rapidly transforming again, seemingly about to directly transform into Tao principles. This undoubtedly made people's hair stand on end even more. How difficult was it for the king of divine laws to transform into Tao principles? And it had just appeared as the King of Divine Laws, then rapidly transformed into Tao principles. Even an immortal venerable at the peak couldn't do that. Even the great sun world-honored one seated in limitless heaven, a beautiful woman in the Jade Pond immortal realm, a white-haired old man in Jade capital city, and many immortal venerables in the foreign realm couldn't help but rise and begin searching for the source of the change. At the end of the epic, such an earth-shattering change suddenly occurred, leading many to suspect if the epic child was about to be born. With so many immortal venerables acting together, it wouldn't take long to thoroughly investigate the entire chaos realm, down to the smallest detail. However, they had only just set off. Unexpectedly, from the other shore sky, a terrifying aura that made even immortal venerables tremble emanated. An old voice sounded, "Enough, stop here. Continuing to search will bring disaster, not fortune." The group of immortal venerables looked at each other. Finally, they returned to their own territories. Although most people didn't know the old man's identity. But his aura alone far surpassed theirs, indicating that he was not someone they could provoke. Since the owner of this King of Divine Laws was related to this old man, they'd better extinguish their various thoughts sooner rather than later, lest they bring trouble upon themselves. On the other side, Lu Chengsheng also felt this terrifying aura. Lu Chengsheng stroked his chin in thought, wondering if the owner of this aura was the old boatman from the simulation. To emit such an aura, one would have to be at least Immortal Venerable 10th level or a quasi-Immortal Emperor, right? Putting aside this person's strength and identity for now, why would he help him? He couldn't figure it out. But Lu Chengsheng didn't dwell on it. Anyway, for him, it was ultimately a good thing. With his strength fully received, Lu Chengsheng then opened the simulator to see what changes had occurred to his simulation money. 542. Trillions of immortal crystals crush Fei Peng. Simulate again and go back to the past. The simulator detected a massive increase in the host's strength. One simulation now requires 100 billion gold. Insufficient balance. Please recharge immediately. Good heavens, 100 billion immortal crystals. Lu Chengsheng's eyes showed a hint of surprise. Although the simulation cost in gold hadn't changed, the amount had increased 1,000-fold compared to last time. Immortal crystals could only be condensed by an immortal lord. Such a vast amount of immortal crystals could probably only be produced by forces above the 5th or 6th heaven. Alright then, I'll go explore the 6th heaven. The 6th heaven primarily consisted of 3 major forces: the Crimson Yi Demon Court, the Kaiyuan Holy Court, and the Golden Hall Immortal Court. Especially the Golden Hall Immortal Court, which held many of Lu Chengsheng's old friends. With a single step, Lu Chengsheng traversed a dimension. In just 4 or 5 steps, he entered the Might Virtue Heaven in the 6th heaven. Upon entering, Lu Chengsheng headed directly for the Golden Hall Immortal Court. Soon, all the Immortal Emperor level masters at the Golden Hall Immortal Court's headquarters simultaneously sensed a vast aura approaching the Immortal Court headquarters. It carried no concealment, clearly indicating that the visitor had hostile intentions. Dozens of powerful thoughts collided in the void realm. Someone asked in confusion, how could such a powerful expert appear in the 6th heaven? Could it be that the Crimson Yi Demon Emperor or the Kaiyuan Immortal Emperor has made a breakthrough? No, that's not the aura of those 2 old fellows. Someone immediately denied it. No matter who it is, we must meet them in battle. At the very least, we need to test their strength. Everyone hoped that one of the 3 heavenly emperors, Fei Peng, Zunji, or Ganji, would go to intercept him. Because this aura was simply too astonishing, even an Immortal Emperor felt a tremor. Finally, the Golden Hall Immortal Emperor dispatched the war god Fei Peng. He was originally in charge of the Immortal Court's defense, so sending him out was not abrupt. Halt! Outside the Immortal Court, Flying Peng Immortal Emperor directly led his army to block the way. He looked at Lu Changsheng with an eager gaze. Fei Peng was born a belligerent, and the stronger his enemy, the more excited he became. The other members of the Golden Hall Immortal Court were also curious about Lu Changsheng's strength. If Lu Changsheng couldn't even pass Fei Peng's test, they naturally wouldn't need to act. If Fei Peng couldn't stop Lu Changsheng, they would have no choice but to intervene personally. Facing Fei Peng, who was charging at him, Lu Changsheng simply pointed a finger. The Immortal Emperors of the Golden Hall Immortal Court saw that finger transform into a colossal pillar, crushing Fei Peng along with the army behind him. With just one move, Fei Peng, the war god of the Immortal Court and a Grand Master of the Immortal Emperor's Sixth Realm, was directly sent to the lower realm for reincarnation. The faces of the more than 30 Immortal Emperors of the Golden Hall Immortal Court instantly turned extremely terrified. Fei Peng was one of the 3 heavenly emperors, second only to the Golden Hall Immortal Emperor in strength within the Golden Hall Immortal Court. He was annihilated with just one move. This person was definitely a half-step Immortal Exalted, or even a true Immortal Venerable. When did the Golden Hall Immortal Court provoke such a formidable enemy? The Evil Sword Immortal, who was imprisoned in the soul-locking pagoda, completely restrained his aura, not wanting to attract even a hint of attention. He could sense that Lu Changsheng's strength was even greater than his former Sword Immortal Dao body. Even though it was a good opportunity to escape amidst the chaos, he dared not act rashly. The Evil Sword Immortal was very intelligent, but not everyone was as clever as him. Many Immortal Emperors of the Golden Hall Immortal Court, seeing Fei Peng's tragic death, were terrified and tried to flee. Boom, boom, boom. But Lu Changsheng merely swept his Dao soul power, and their bodies and immortal souls, along with the divine laws they had comprehended, all instantly vanished. Foolish! How dare you flee in the presence of an immortal venerable? Heavenly Emperor Zunji coldly watched them die, then he came before Lu Changsheng, his stern face suddenly breaking into a smile. May I ask what brings your esteemed self here? I am willing to serve you. The Golden Hall Immortal Emperor cursed this fellow for acting so quickly, then also came before Lu Changsheng, humbly expressing his willingness to follow Lu Changsheng's lead. Since he said so, Lu Changsheng did not stand on ceremony and stated that he would first visit the Golden Hall Immortal Court's treasury. The Golden Hall Immortal Emperor and Heavenly Emperor Zunji immediately led Lu Changsheng to the treasury, opened the restriction, and respectfully watched Lu Changsheng enter. The treasury was filled with a dazzling array of treasures, and the immortal crystals that Lu Changsheng needed most amounted to over 1 trillion. Lu Changsheng took everything from the treasury, then handed the Golden Hall Immortal Emperor a copy of the Hewa Sheng Ren Fa, saying, I never take things from others for free. This is an immortal venerable method, which even immortal emperors and immortal kings can easily cultivate. You and your subordinates must diligently cultivate it. The Golden Hall Immortal Emperor was overjoyed. Many items in the treasury were long useless to him. But an immortal venerable method was extremely useful to him. He had thought Lu Changsheng would take things for free, but he didn't expect him to produce such a good item. Generous. Truly generous. Facing Lu Changsheng's instructions, he immediately nodded repeatedly, indicating that he would surely comply. He would personally supervise his subordinates' cultivation. Afterward, the Golden Hall Immortal Emperor even gave up his own sleeping quarters for Lu Changsheng to reside in. Lu Changsheng said it was unnecessary, and that he would stay in Fei Peng's palace, as it was empty anyway. After all the commotion subsided, Lu Changsheng opened the simulator again and recharged. Recharge successful. Current balance, 100 billion. Would you like to start the simulation immediately? Yes. Whether this simulation would last long depended on whether it could avoid provoking the immortal ancestors' hostility. Although the other shore sky led to many places, staying in the Chaos Realm was still the most comfortable in comparison. Consumed 100 billion gold. Simulation begins. At 18 years old, you break through to half-step Immortal Exalted, with true strength comparable to an Immortal Venerable of the Third Realm, making you the most terrifying prodigy of all time. Moreover, your self-created myriad laws divine rule transformed into the King of Divine Laws and further advanced into Tao principles, causing a shocking phenomenon that led many Immortal Venerables to seek you out, but they were ultimately blocked by a mysterious person from the other shore sky. You do not know the identity of the mysterious person, but you suspect it is the old boatman you encountered in the previous simulation. 1 month later, you subjugated the Crimson Yi Demon Court and the Kaiyuan Holy Court. Thus, all 3 major forces of the 6th heaven submitted to you. You are considered to have nominally unified the 6th heaven. Why nominally? Because many people only submitted superficially, compelled by your strength. However, this doesn't matter. The Hua Sheng Ren Fa only needs to be spread slightly to make them utterly devoted. You then sent a Tao body to the boundary sea to establish the reincarnation heavenly palace. Another Tao body went to collect all the doomsday altars from the previous simulation. As for the last Tao body, it went to the Hongwang continent in the 7th heaven to suppress Hongjun. At this time, although you do not plan to take the path of sacrifice, you must still control the numerous Emperor stars, just in case. If you encounter a life or death crisis, you can still sacrifice them all to give yourself a chance to turn the tables. Hongjun saw that your Tao body was only a half-step immortal exalted and was not afraid. However, as he began to fall behind in the battle, he used the Jade Plate of Fortune to pull your divine soul back to the past of Hongwang. And this is exactly what you wanted. Last time, you only retrieved the Chaos Clock. This time, you want more. Anyway, Hongjun Old Ancestor will bear all the power of time correction. And he was the one who pulled you into the past. Why would you be polite with him? 543. Zhu Xian Sword Formation, Hongjun's Death. The 3 great immortals re-enter the Heavenly Witch. You recultivated the undying profound art, taking over bodies along the way, and finally broke through to the Saint Realm as Emperor Jun of the Yao race. After the breakthrough, you established the Yao race Heavenly Court, gaining supreme karma, which further enhanced your strength, bringing you to the late stage of the Saint Realm. Afterward, you gathered the power of the Yao race and used the Star Do Great Formation to battle Hongjun and a group of top-tier innate heavenly gods outside the Purple Cloud Palace. During the great battle, you first ambushed your elder brother Eastern Emperor Tai, seizing his Chaos Clock, and then heavily injured Master of the Heavens, taking his immortal slaughtering sword formation. Lord Taishang's Taiji diagram, celestial worthy of the primordial beginnings Pan-Jiu banner, and Master of the Heavens' immortal slaughtering sword formation were, in later generations, in the hands of Yaoqi Jade Mother, Maha Immortal Venerable, and Evil Dragon Immortal Exalted, respectively. If you snatch the innate supreme treasures from this point in time, it will certainly provoke retaliation from their future owners. Among the 3, Yaoqi Jade Mother and Maha Immortal Venerable are highly skilled, both above Immortal Venerable 6th layer, while Evil Dragon Immortal Exalted is only at Immortal Venerable 4th layer, making him the easiest to bully in comparison. Then you should snatch his things. The sudden turn of events stunned the mighty figures in Purple Cloud Palace and the members of the Yao race. But you had no time to get entangled with them, and then you heavily injured Old Ancestor Hongjun. The future Hongjun, to prevent his past self from being slain, could only forcibly pull you back. This time, you carried the Chaos Clock and the Immortal Slaughtering Sword formation, 2 great innate supreme treasures, and the power of time laws' correction was far more ferocious than in the previous simulation. Even though Old Ancestor Hongjun's Jade Plate of Fortune could block most of it for him, the remainder still left him severely wounded and on the verge of death, without even the strength to escape. You came before him and said with a smile, "This is you harming yourself." After speaking, the Chaos Clock vibrated, shaking Old Ancestor Hongjun into dust. The Jade Plate of Fortune in his hand fell into your grasp. Your myriad laws Tao principle then followed the river of time, erasing his historical projection. Old Ancestor Hongjun, deceased. Just as you slew Old Ancestor Hongjun, on the other side, Evil Dragon Immortal Exalted, seeing the Immortal Slaughtering Sword formation disappear, was furious beyond measure. The Immortal Slaughtering Sword formation, among innate supreme treasures, ranks among the top in terms of destructive power and was a great weapon in Evil Dragon Immortal Exalted's hands. With this sword formation, even experts at Immortal Venerable 5th or 6th layer would not dare to easily provoke him. Now it was just gone like that. He was like a vicious beast with its teeth pulled, his combat power instantly dropping by more than half. He wanted to follow the river of time to find the person who took the Immortal Slaughtering Sword formation. However, you had the Hongmeng Dao Palace to obscure heavenly secrets, and the myriad laws Dao principle could also erase your historical traces. For Evil Dragon Immortal Exalted to find you was undoubtedly a fool's errand. However, although he could not directly find you through heavenly secret arts, he could find clues through the death of Old Ancestor Hongjun. Then he paid a great price to invite the time laws mastering Immortal Venerable of Time to act and find your whereabouts. You didn't expect Evil Dragon Immortal Exalted to have some capability. But even if he found you, he couldn't defeat you at all. However, Evil Dragon Immortal Exalted had lived for so long and still had some connections. Soon, he found Thousand-Faced Heavenly Demon and Saint-Handed Literary King, two otherworldly Immortal Exalted, to deal with you together. You summoned your Tao body, enduring the pursuit of the three great Immortal Venerables, and directly arrived at the Tianwu domain, entering the Tianwu Divine Hall. Evil Dragon Immortal Exalted was greatly astonished. This Tianwu Divine Hall could only be entered by those undergoing assessment, and the realm of those being assessed was at most half-step Immortal Exalted. He didn't expect a formidable person like you to not even be an Immortal Venerable. Thinking of the myriad laws Tao principle that had just emerged and shaken the immortal domain, could you be its master? Thousand-Faced Heavenly Demon and Saint-Handed Literary King also looked displeased. They had originally thought you were just an ordinary Immortal Venerable, which was why they offered help. They didn't expect to have inadvertently provoked such a prodigy. Evil Dragon Immortal Exalted said, "The feud has already been formed. Now you can only follow me and walk down this dark path together." Thousand-Faced Heavenly Demon and Saint-Handed Literary King exchanged glances, revealing displeasure. "All this trouble was caused by you. And you still want us to walk down this path with you until the end?" Evil Dragon Immortal Exalted spread his hands, shamelessly saying, "Otherwise, what else can we do? If he breaks through to Immortal Venerable, he definitely won't let us go." Unexpectedly, the two smiled strangely. "It's simple. Just capture you and hand you over to him, wouldn't that work?" With that, the three of them started fighting outside the Tianwu Divine Hall. You watched their dog-eat-dog behavior, finding it amusing. Afterward, you participated in the first 3 trials. You saw Wu Tuo again. However, strangely, you did not sense the aura of a true spirit from Wu Tuo. At this time, he was actually not your true spirit clone. Assuming you hadn't come to the Tianwu Divine Hall. What then was Wu Tuo's true origin? This might be a historical mystery. As expected, you received an A+ rating in all 3 trials, and your hidden score was even higher than in the previous simulation. After all, last time you participated, you were only at the Immortal Emperor 7th realm. And now, you are only one step away from Immortal Venerable. You still chose the same rewards as in the previous simulation, the Heavenly Witch Tao Scripture, Jade Creation Disc Fragments, and an Immortal King Puppet. As the 11th spot emerged, this final spot stirred countless people to action. Even Xiao Shu and Tian Hao arrived at the Tianwu Divine Hall early to participate in the trial. Immortal King Xiao Shu, escorted by Jade Universe Celestial Venerable, even arrived a step earlier. However, his speed in clearing the trials was still significantly slower than Tian Hao's. Ultimately, Tian Hao Immortal Emperor secured the last spot. Half a year later, all trial participants gathered at the Tianwu Divine Hall. Wu Tuo initiated the final trial. You returned to the Tianwu domain again, 100 years before its impending destruction. This time, perhaps due to the different timing, you did not take possession of Yao Fan of the Wugu tribe. Instead, you took possession of Gui Mie of the Gui Fang tribe. Due to the rejection of the Tianwu domain's dimensional will towards outsiders, Gui Mie's background was also not good. He was merely born to a tribesman of the Gui Fang tribe who, after getting drunk, had a child with a lowly female slave. His treatment was naturally not good. Although he was given the surname Gui, he often did slave work within the tribe. The tribesmen basically treated him as a slave. After your transmigration, you immediately had the Immortal King Puppet exterminate the Gui Fang tribe. Then, carrying a vast amount of resources, you hid in a remote area and went into secluded cultivation. 3 years later, your Tianwu battle body successfully cultivated to the 5th layer. The Immortal King Puppet could be used again, and you had it plunder the strongest nearby Shaodian tribe. You went into secluded cultivation for another 3 years, and your Tianwu battle body cultivated to the 8th layer. At this time, you were comparable to an 8th realm heavenly witch among the witch race. After another 3 years, you cultivated the Tianwu battle body to the 10th layer, comparable to a witch sovereign. You were already a top expert in the Blackwater Plain where you resided. 544. The strength has increased greatly, and it is overwhelming. Goodbye to the immortal ancestor, and confuse cause and effect. Then, you led the Immortal King Puppet and completely plundered Yuan City, the top city in Blackwater Plain. 3 more years passed, and your Tianwu battle body successfully broke through to the 11th layer. Your strength was comparable to a Wu Emperor. At this point, you were already stronger than the immortal king puppet. You began to travel around, robbing the rich to help the poor. Blackwater Plain was quickly emptied by you. However, these resources were not enough for your Tianwu battle body to break through to the 12th layer, which was comparable to a Wu Emperor. You prepared to leave Blackwater Plain and head to other richer places. But, before leaving, you specifically went to annihilate the Wu Jiyu tribe, White Marsh, Blood Hand, and Sky Horn, the 4 major tribes. You annihilated them not because of the grudges from the previous simulation, but because each of them held a part of a fragmented map. Combined, they formed a complete treasure map, pointing to the Yu clan's legacy. The bronze compass within the legacy was crucial for your true spirit clone to survive in the end. You absolutely could not miss it. Following the treasure map's instructions, you arrived at the Wuki mountain range and successfully retrieved the bronze compass. At this time, you had already condensed a Tao soul, and your true spirit also carried the power of the Tao soul. Yet, you still couldn't see through this bronze compass. It just contained an aura similar to the transcendent mark, so its origin must be extraordinary. Time flew by, and 6 years quickly passed. In these years, you traveled east and west, robbing the rich to help the poor everywhere, finally allowing your Tianwu battle body to break through to the 12th layer. You were comparable to a Wu Emperor, and your strength greatly increased. Moreover, your strength far surpassed those of the same realm. Aside from the 12 bloodline sources, almost no one could take your life. At this point, 18 years had passed, and among the 12 trial takers, some had already begun to be eliminated. The remaining people became even more cautious. Only you, with your greatly increased strength, went around robbing the rich to help the poor, making quite a name for yourself. 5 years later, Tian Hao and Hu Yunjiang, the 2 rebirth imperial stars, successively became the imperial princes and princesses of Gonggong and Zhu Juyin, greatly increasing the pressure on others. 7 more years passed, and Li Huo, Nan Ya, Divine Mother, and Jun Shao, these powerful half-step immortal exalted individuals in their true forms, also successively became the imperial princes and princesses of ancient kingdoms like Zhurong, Dizhong, Jumong, and Changliang. In these 12 years, you traveled north and south, and your good reputation spread far and wide throughout the entire Tianwu domain. Many people gritted their teeth and called you the ghost-exterminating Tao Emperor. Under the massive resources, you also successfully broke through to the 13th layer of the Tianwu battle body. This realm was comparable to a half-step immortal exalted, which was the realm of the 12 bloodline sources. And your strength far surpassed those of the same realm, even if the 12 combined forces, they might not be your opponents. Only 30 years had passed, and you had basically reached the point of being unrivaled below the immortal Venerable realm. Next, it was time to clear out all the trial takers. Only then could you focus more on improving your strength, without worrying about someone else taking your gains. To achieve the goal of rapid clearance, your true form engaged in vertical and horizontal alliances within the Tianwu Divine Hall, forming an alliance specifically targeting the 2 imperial stars. When everyone appeared and moved to attack Tian Hao and Hu Yunjiang, they both laughed, "You've fallen into our trap." A shaman with a rough head, a human body, treading on 2 black dragons, and covered in black scales, appeared on the scene. It was Gonggong, the water god. But it wasn't over yet. Zhu Juyin, god of time, with a human face and snake body, and entirely crimson, also appeared on the scene. Tian Hao and Hu Yunjiang must have paid an unimaginable price to invite 2 bloodline sources to stand up for them. Everyone's faces turned ashen. Tian Hao laughed wildly, "The legacy is destined to be mine. What do you have to compete with me?" But he quickly stopped laughing. Because you revealed your true form and directly suppressed the 2 great bloodline sources. Everyone never expected that there was still such a master. Only 30 years, and you could suppress bloodline sources, right? Still saying you didn't cheat. You wouldn't bother with their thoughts, directly sweeping them all up and killing them. Thus, all trial takers except you were eliminated. You reached the end through your own efforts. The other eliminated individuals, however, cried out about the unfairness. Wu Tuo directly snorted and expelled them from the Tianwu Divine Hall. And as soon as Tianao Immortal Emperor arrived outside, he was taken away by your Tao body. Anyway, this guy didn't have an immortal venerable backer, so who else would you bully if not him? In the Tianwu domain, your true spirit clone could finally confidently and boldly improve its strength. The 12 bloodline sources were like brothers. Because you suppressed Gonggong and Zhu Juyin, the other 10 bloodline sources all came to kill you. And then, all were suppressed by you. From now on, you were the sole dominator of the Tianwu domain. The resources of the entire world would be your nourishment. Time flew by, and 60 years passed in a flash. After devouring most of the resources of the Tianwu domain, your Tianwu battle body finally broke through to the 14th layer. Your strength was comparable to an immortal venerable. Subsequently, the historical phantom of Tianwu Immortal Lord actually appeared on its own initiative, looking at you with appreciation and saying, "Not bad." Then, he entrusted you with the task of preserving the bloodline of the Wu clan. You began to travel around, spreading the Wu clan bloodline and plundering resources across the major dimensions of the immortal realm. 10 years passed in a flash, and you returned to the Tianwu domain again. At this time, the Tianwu Divine Hall had opened to you. After you entered, the historical phantom of Tianwu Immortal Lord began to face a powerful enemy. Because your strength was much greater than in the previous simulation, you finally saw the appearance of the person who killed Tianwu Immortal Lord, which was exactly the same as the immortal ancestor you saw in the last simulation. It was him indeed, Yu Zhan, the immortal ancestor. After he killed Tianwu Immortal Lord, he wanted to attack the Tianwu Divine Hall. At this moment, the bronze compass took effect, carrying the Tianwu Divine Hall and fleeing into the void. Your true form lost contact with your true spirit clone. The enraged immortal ancestor destroyed the Tianwu domain. When your true form opened its eyes again, you sensed the aura of your true spirit from within Wu Tuo Immortal Venerable's body. And his strength was also much stronger than before. Comparable to a powerful immortal venerable 5th realm expert. Before the final trial, you did not sense the true spirit aura from within Wu Tuo's body. But now you could sense it. Perhaps the original Wu Tuo was someone else. But now, he had been replaced by your true spirit clone. You changed history, and you also changed the fate of others. Does this count as a causal inversion? You directly enlightened Wu Tuo, causing the confusion in his eyes to dissipate. So, this was his origin. He and you were originally one. You fused with the true spirit within Wu Tuo's body, making your own true spirit complete once again. Now, the legacy of Tianwu Immortal Lord was in hand. It was time to enter seclusion and break through to the immortal venerable realm. 545. Break through the Immortal Lord and kill the evil dragon. Join the Immortal Lord Hall and become a quasi-Immortal Emperor. Open black lens bracket at 19, you completed the final step of engraving the myriad laws Tao principle into the ancestral court within the Tianwu Divine Hall. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You successfully achieved a breakthrough to Immortal Venerable. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. In your sea of consciousness, the ancestral court radiated billions of divine lights, illuminating your sea of consciousness, presiding over the center, and commanding everything. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Outside the Tianwu Divine Hall, various phenomena also appeared, shocking everyone. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Immortal Venerable was almost the pinnacle of the chaos realm. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. It was a great existence revered and respected by countless immortals. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. In the eyes of countless immortals, becoming an Immortal Venerable was a symbol of great freedom and boundless ease. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. At 19, you finally reached this step. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Recalling the hardships along the way, it was truly not easy. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Fortunately, you persevered. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. From now on, who wouldn't respectfully call you Eternal Life Immortal Palace? Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Having achieved a breakthrough to Immortal Venerable, you were very happy, so you decided to kill an evil dragon Immortal Exalted to celebrate. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You spent a little time refining the chaos clock and the immortal slaughtering sword formation. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Then, you headed towards the evil dragon Immortal Exalted's hiding place. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. On that day, the evil dragon Immortal Exalted was injured by the thousand-faced heavenly demon and the saint-handed literary king and went into hiding. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. But you had already arranged for your Tao body to monitor him, so you knew his hiding place perfectly. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You quickly arrived at a remote, desolate dimension. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. There was no life in this dimension, only endless yellow sand. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. With one sword strike, you split this dimension in half. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. When the evil dragon Immortal Exalted saw it was you, he angrily said, "You stole my things, and now you want to exterminate me." Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You shook your head and said, "You are mistaken. I have never stolen your things, all my things were taken from the primordial world. I took things from the primordial world, yet you shouted for my death. When I come for revenge, you act aggrieved." Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. The evil dragon Immortal Exalted was speechless. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. He exchanged a few blows with you and discovered that your strength had greatly increased after your breakthrough to Immortal Venerable. Even at his peak, he was no match, so he immediately turned and fled. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You pursued, he fled, he had no wings to escape. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Half a day later, you summoned 2 Tao bodies and cornered him in a chaos void realm. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. The evil dragon Immortal Exalted frantically begged for mercy, but you ignored him. Using the immortal slaughtering sword formation, you spent 3 days and 3 nights grinding him down until he was annihilated. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. The evil dragon Immortal Exalted, a generation's dragon king, thus fell. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Of course, he was not truly dead, he could still be resurrected from the river of history. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. But that would be at least 1,000 or 800 years later. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. If he were to resurrect, you would just kill him again. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. In this battle, you established your formidable reputation in the immortal realm. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Soon after, Jade Universe Celestial Venerable personally came to the Tianwu Divine Hall to invite you to join the Immortal Reverence Hall. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Tianwu Immortal Lord was from an outer region, and since you obtained his legacy, you should also be considered from an outer region. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. However, Jade Universe Celestial Venerable clearly valued your talent more. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Moreover, by killing the evil dragon Immortal Exalted, you indirectly showed that you were not aligned with the various immortal venerables from the outer regions. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. This was the main reason for his invitation. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. As the saying goes, know yourself and your enemy, and you will never be defeated. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You didn't know much about the immortal ancestor, and now that an opportunity to infiltrate was before you, you naturally wouldn't refuse. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. However, to appear less eager, you hesitated for a moment before agreeing. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Jade Universe Celestial Venerable was overjoyed by this and immediately took you to the headquarters of the Immortal Reverence Hall in the 8th heaven. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. The headquarters of the Immortal Reverence Hall was an incredibly majestic immortal mountain. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Even a corner of it was clearly visible from hundreds of millions of miles away. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. When you arrived before the immortal mountain, you discovered that it contained its own universe, with layers of world membranes faintly visible. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Clearly, it used multiple dimensional barriers as its mountain protecting formation. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Jade Universe Celestial Venerable introduced, this is Yuzan Mountain, named after the founder of our Immortal Reverence Hall. It contains hundreds of large dimensions, so even with many immortal venerables, it doesn't feel crowded. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You feigned surprise and asked, could it be that the founder of the Immortal Reverence Hall is honored as Yuzan Immortal Venerable? Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Jade Universe Celestial Venerable stroked his beard and smiled, Yuzan is my master. He is not an immortal venerable, but a quasi-immortal emperor. We generally honor him as Daozan. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You were inwardly startled, thinking, as expected. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. This Yuzan Daozan could easily kill Tian Wu Immortal Lord, who was at the Immortal Venerable 8th level, and subdue the Immortal Venerable 10th level Emperor Demon Immortal Venerable. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You had long suspected he might be a quasi-immortal emperor. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Today, your guess was confirmed. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Led by Jade Universe Celestial Venerable, you entered the core area of Yuzan Mountain, Elder Peak, without any hindrance. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Here, various rare immortal beasts roamed in groups, soaring across the sky, emitting world-shaking light. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. There were also towering immortal palaces that reached into the clouds. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. The more than 20 immortal venerables and other powerful individuals of the Immortal Reverence Hall had already gathered, seemingly waiting specifically for you. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You were joining the Elder Hall, so everyone had to treat you with caution. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. There were many conditions for joining the Elder Hall of the Immortal Reverence Hall. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Besides strength, the most important was that one could not be an emperor star or a demon star, and must not have cultivated evil techniques that harmed heaven and earth, but rather followed the grand righteous path. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. As for emperor star and demon star, you were neither. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. As for the righteous path. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. While the immortal Tao and Buddhist Tao might not always be perfectly righteous, the demonic path was certainly not good. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. If a demonic path cultivator were to infiltrate the Immortal Reverence Hall, it would definitely be a disaster, not a blessing. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. And you were only 19 this year, how could you have cultivated any evil techniques? Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Your innate Tao principles, the myriad laws Tao principle, that was also a top tier, supreme Tao. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Therefore, it was natural that you walk the grand righteous path. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. In the second test, you also successfully passed. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. The group of immortal venerable elders smiled, welcoming you to join the Immortal Reverence Hall. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You had not a trace of karma on you, you were practically righteous to an extreme. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. If you weren't qualified to join the Immortal Reverence Hall, who else would be? Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You were not surprised by this. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You were pure-hearted and benevolent, and having just turned 19, it was only natural that you had no karma. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Of course, you had killed many people in the lower realm. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. But those few people, relative to your immortal venerable strength, were like a person accidentally stepping on 2 ants, utterly insignificant. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Therefore, the Immortal Reverence Hall indeed had good judgment. You secretly decided that you would definitely not disappoint them in the future. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. After you became an elder of the Immortal Reverence Hall, another immortal palace appeared on Elder Peak, named Eternal Life Immortal Palace. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. By joining the Immortal Reverence Hall, from now on you would be a disciple of Yuzan Daozan. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. He was not currently in the Chaos Realm. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You temporarily paid respects to his portrait as a master. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. You would formally acknowledge him as master after he returned. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Jade Universe Celestial Venerable also said, if master learns that he has such an excellent disciple as you, he will surely be very pleased. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Afterward, he took out a Tao book and said that it was the Yuxuan Golden Chapter, written by Yuzan Immortal Venerable, and everyone in the Immortal Reverence Hall had to cultivate it. Since you joined, you were naturally no exception. Close black lens bracket. 546. Daozan's version of the Saint's Law. The first 10 Tao rules, Weshixianzun. You gladly accepted it. Since it was left by a quasi-immortal emperor, it should be a good thing, right? It's just that his intention to allow everyone to cultivate, isn't that a bit too good? You've only seen this kind of selfless spirit in yourself. Could it be that Yu Daozhen is also as selfless as you? You returned to your eternal life immortal palace, opened the Yuxuan Golden Chapter, and found that it contained methods to accelerate cultivation, and they were extremely simple to get started with. Your expression was grave. Why did this feel increasingly familiar? Could this be the Daozhen version of the Hua Sheng Ren Fa? You didn't dare to cultivate it easily. Instead, you had your Dao body randomly select a lucky Immortal Emperor and let him cultivate it. That Immortal Emperor only took 1 month to get started with the Yuxuan Golden Chapter. Then, he became a fanatical supporter of Yu Daozhen. My goodness, this really is the Daozhen version of the Hua Sheng Ren Fa. I'm sweating, brother. You were originally curious why the Immortal Reverence Hall had such strong cohesion. So it was because of this guy. It doesn't make people lose their minds, but it makes them unconditionally worship and believe in Yu Daozhen. The profoundness within it far surpasses the Hua Sheng Ren Fa. Cultivating this is impossible, you can only feign it. 3 months later, Jade Universe Celestial Venerable came to your door again. He asked you how your cultivation of the Yuxuan Golden Chapter was progressing. You said you had already gotten started, and ever since cultivating the Yuxuan Golden Chapter, your cultivation speed had increased by several points. Jade Universe Celestial Venerable said, "Good," and then invited you out to enjoy the scenery. On the way, 2 disciples were secretly discussing Yu Daozhen's faults, and you angrily killed them. Then, you apologized to Jade Universe Celestial Venerable, saying, you cannot bear to see others disrespecting Master, which is why you acted so ruthlessly. Jade Universe Celestial Venerable, instead, smiled and comforted you. They were just 2 Immortal Lord disciples, killing them is no big deal. After returning, Jade Universe Celestial Venerable did not visit for a long time, seemingly much more at ease about you. And you were happy to be at leisure, focusing on cultivation in the Eternal Life Immortal Palace. The Tao of an Immortal Venerable lies in inscribing Tao principles. The Ancestral Court can accommodate 10 Tao principles. Inscribing 1 makes 1 an Immortal Venerable first layer. Inscribing 2 makes 1 an Immortal Venerable second layer. And so on. Of course, there are also requirements for the inscribed Tao principles. First, they must be completely mastered. If the inscribed Tao principles are not completely mastered, even if inscribed, they can easily be washed away by the power of the innate Tao principles. Second, they must be among the top 3,000 Tao principles. Tao principles that are too weak cannot be inscribed on the Ancestral Court at all. Besides the above 2 points, there is actually a hidden rule here. That is, the stronger the Ancestral Court, the higher the requirements for Tao principles. An ordinary Immortal Venerable's Ancestral Court structure only has 9 parts. While yours has a full 27, 3 times theirs. Your Ancestral Court naturally has higher requirements for Tao principles. You estimate that those ranked below the top 500 cannot be inscribed at all. But this is a small problem for you. Since only 10 Tao principles can be inscribed, your requirements are naturally higher. Your basic comprehension ability is comparable to that of a powerful Immortal Venerable 7th or 8th layer. And you also have infinite enlightenment. If the requirements are too low, it would be a waste of your talent and ingenuity. Your gaze has always been on the top 10 Supreme Tao principles. The top 10 Tao principles, from highest to lowest, are destiny, chaos, time, space, karma, reincarnation, destruction, creation, calamity, and yin and yang. This is different from the previous top 10 supreme rules. Destiny Tao principles are ranked first, and chaos can only be second. And karma and yin and yang have also entered the top 10. You don't know why such a change occurred. But you know that rules, divine law, and Tao principles, the higher they are, the closer they are to the essence of heaven and earth. That destiny Tao principles can rank first perhaps suggests that the destiny of all living beings has long been arranged. All divine ability are no match for destiny. Others may find it difficult to break destiny, but you have the simulator. Even if destiny is predetermined, what then? You will still break it. You place the second Tao principle to be inscribed on calamity, ranked 9th. However, you will also comprehend the yin-yang Tao principles, ranked 10th. Even if you don't plan to inscribe it, you can still integrate it into the myriad laws Tao principle to enhance your foundation. At 20 years old, you successfully got started with the yin-yang Tao principles. At 24 years old, your Yin-Yang Dao principles reached the minor achievement realm. At 29 years old, your Yin-Yang Dao principles reached major achievement. At 31 years old, Yaoqi Jade Mother suddenly found you, saying that the Black Prison was in turmoil and hoped you would go with her to suppress it. The Black Prison is located in the Dead Sea of Limitless Heaven. It is a place specifically used by the Immortal Reverence Hall to imprison otherworldly Immortal Exalted. At least an Immortal Emperor is qualified to be imprisoned there. Below Immortal Emperor, they are easily annihilated by an Immortal Venerable. However, completely annihilating an Immortal Emperor takes a bit of effort, so unless their crimes are heinous, they are mostly imprisoned. This was the first task you were given since joining the Immortal Reverence Hall, so you naturally wouldn't refuse. When you arrived at the Black Prison in the Dead Sea with Yaoqi Jade Mother, you saw blood-colored light soaring into the sky, dyeing the entire Dead Sea crimson. This blood-colored light was the Black Prison's suppression formation, the Boundless Blood Sea formation. Below the formation, thousands of Immortal Emperors, led by 3 otherworldly Immortal Exalted, Wuxi, Zhedian, and Hongqian, were continuously assaulting the formation. Terrifying killing power surged into the sky, radiating far away, spreading across endless Immortal Realm dimensions. For some reason, when you saw Zhedian Immortal Venerable, you had a strange sense of familiarity. This should be your first time seeing him, right? Demon subduing Immortal Venerable, who was originally guarding this place, was struggling to hold on. Seeing you and Yaoqi Jade Mother arrive, he was overjoyed. Yaoqi Jade Mother took out a white lotus flower, stabilizing the Boundless Blood Sea formation. You, meanwhile, took out the completely refined Chaos Clock. The Chaos Clock rang out loudly, its sound deafening, like the heavenly sound of the Tao, reverberating, causing many Immortal Emperors to spit blood and fly backward. Looking at your Chaos Clock, Demon subduing Immortal Venerable muttered in a daze, "It's so similar, too similar." "What's too similar?" you asked. Demon subduing Immortal Venerable regained his senses and said, "Among the 3 otherworldly Immortal Exalted suppressed in the Black Prison, Wuxi Immortal Venerable also had a similar bell-shaped magic treasure before, but for some reason, he hasn't used it this time." You looked down and saw a majestic man with a captivating demeanor and flowing black hair below, also staring intently at the Chaos Clock. Your heart skipped a beat. Could it be that you snatched his Chaos Clock? No wonder you didn't encounter any trouble after taking the Chaos Clock from the primordial world. So the future victim was being suppressed here. 547. Quelling the riot, suppressing the reason. Travelers go together, trading conditions. With your and Yaoqi Jade Mother's help, Demon subduing Immortal Venerable quickly repelled this riot. Afterward, he invited you all to rest here for a few days so he could entertain you lavishly. Yaoqi Jade Mother left on a pretext, but you stayed behind. Firstly, to expand your connections in the Immortal Reverence Hall, and secondly, you were very curious about the familiar feeling you had from Immortal Venerable Zhedian and wanted to investigate. Demon subduing Immortal Venerable was very pleased that you gave him face, and hosted a banquet in Black Prison for 3 days. During the banquet, you subtly inquired about the origins of the 3 Immortal Venerables who were suppressed by Demon subduing Immortal Venerable. This was no secret, and Demon subduing Immortal Venerable did not hide it. He said that all 3 came from Zhedian domain. Among them, Immortal Venerable Zhedian had the highest realm, Immortal Venerable 7th Heaven, while Immortal Venerable Wuxi and Red Dust Demon Venerable were both Immortal Venerable 5th Heaven. Most of the Immortal Emperors in Black Prison were also from Zhedian domain. You asked curiously, isn't this Black Prison for suppressing all otherworldly people? Why are most of them from Zhedian domain? Demon subduing Immortal Venerable said, this is a long story. Originally, this Black Prison was built for Zhedian domain. Zhedian domain is only a medium-sized dimension comparable to the 6th heaven, yet it could continuously produce 3 Immortal Venerables. One can imagine the talent and brilliance of these 3. All of them were astonishingly brilliant. However, these 3 were very restless. Led by Immortal Venerable Zhedian, they constantly attacked and even tried to destroy the Tao Ruins realm to attract prehistoric powerhouses. The actions of the 3 could not be tolerated by either the 9 heavens and 10 earths or the otherworld. Therefore, Yuzan Daozan specially built Black Prison to imprison Immortal Venerable Zhedian and the high-ranking officials of Zhedian domain there. You nodded and said, so that's how it is. It seems these 3 deserved their fate. However, you muttered to yourself, isn't Yuzan Daozan himself a prehistoric powerhouse? Preventing other prehistoric powerhouses from coming to the present in large numbers is only to protect his own interests. You only knew the tip of the iceberg about the relationship between these prehistoric powerhouses, and could not know the full picture. But from Yu Daozin's performance, the competition between them was quite fierce. However, Yu Daozin being able to dominate the future and spread the immortal Dao probably means he is a rare master among prehistoric powerhouses. It can also be seen from the side that a quasi-immortal emperor is an existence that stands out among many prehistoric masters. You also didn't know when the prehistoric powerhouses would fully descend. But from the experience of the Dao Ruins realm in the last simulation, you still hoped they would descend as late as possible. It is estimated that most other immortal venerables shared your thoughts. That's why the actions of the 3 immortal venerables from Zhetian domain caused public outrage. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been suppressed for so long without any otherworldly immortal exalted coming to rescue them. You should know that demon subduing immortal venerable is only a 5th heaven immortal venerable. Moreover, for most of the time, he was the only immortal venerable guarding Black Prison. If the otherworld truly wanted to rescue them, it wouldn't be difficult. The host and guests enjoyed themselves for 3 days. However, on the night before you were about to leave, you suddenly received a divine thought transmission, as fellow transmigrators, why don't you come and meet? Upon hearing the words, transmigrator, you were suddenly startled. You had encountered a fellow traveler. Who sent you the divine thought transmission? Upon your careful investigation, you found that this transmission came from Black Prison. If you went there privately, you would definitely be discovered by demon subduing immortal venerable. Instead of being sneaky, you might as well go openly. You found demon subduing immortal venerable and said that you wanted to visit Black Prison before leaving. This Black Prison was built by a quasi-immortal emperor, and you might be able to comprehend some mysteries from it. Demon subduing immortal venerable was not suspicious and readily agreed, only cautioning you not to enter the boundless sea of blood formation. Thus, you openly approached Black Prison. As you approached, the transmission sounded again. My true name is Yi, and my venerated title is Zhetian. May I ask your excellency's name? This boundless sea of blood formation was left behind by Yu Daozin. Logically speaking, even if Immortal Venerable Zhetian was a master of the Immortal Venerable 7th Heaven, his divine thought would be difficult to penetrate easily. It was probably because he had discovered some loophole or the formation had been damaged during his long years of suppression. However, you were only an Immortal Venerable 1st Heaven and a newcomer, so it was not easy to transmit a reply. Immortal Venerable Zhetian did not tell you about any loopholes, obviously with a testing intention. This was a contest between fellow transmigrators. You used the eye of illusory breaking to observe in detail and found a slight flaw in a certain part of the formation. Then, you used infinite enlightenment and successfully utilized this flaw to break through the formation with your divine thought. You transmitted, my name is Pang Donglai, and my venerated title is Immortal Venerable Donglai. Although your title was not a secret and he would know it with a little inquiry from the outside. But it's always good to be cautious. And he was also a transmigrator, and his realm was higher than yours. It was best to use a false name. Immortal Venerable Zhetian said, so it's Brother Pang. You and I are both Earth Star transmigrators, and we should support each other. Brother Pang probably doesn't know why he transmigrated, or the location and origin of Earth Star, right? As long as you are willing to help me get out, I will tell you everything I know. It must be said that Yi Hei's words truly hit your weak spot. You had once extensively searched for the location of Earth Star, but had found nothing to this day. Clearly, the origin of Earth Star was not simple. As for why you transmigrated, you were equally curious. And you also didn't know if Yi Hei also had a golden finger. The golden finger was definitely the most core secret of a transmigrator. Even if he had it, he wouldn't easily expose it. The same went for you. Could the origin of this golden finger also be related to Earth Star? You might be able to release Yi Hei and the other two, but definitely not now. You had only recently joined the Immortal Reverence Hall, and your realm was only Immortal Venerable 1st Heaven. Even if you unleashed your full power, you could at most compare to an Immortal Venerable 5th Heaven. If you released Immortal Venerable Zhetian, Wuxi, and Red Dust, the Immortal Reverence Hall would definitely not let you off lightly. Furthermore, the fact that you had not cultivated the Yuxuan Golden Chapter would also be exposed. Someone who had cultivated the Yuxuan Golden Chapter would prioritize Yu Daozin's interests in everything and would never do such a thing. However, you did not directly refuse, but rather asked him to reveal these secrets first, and then you would consider it. Yi Hei was not foolish. This was his only remaining bargaining chip, and he would not easily give it away. Your conversation thus reached an impasse. Then, you stopped dwelling on this issue and changed the topic, asking him why he wanted to destroy the Dao Ruins realm and let the prehistoric powerhouses descend. 548. The secret of the time traveler is to merge yin and yang. The disaster is complete and the catastrophe is transformed. Regarding this, Yihei did not hide anything. He said that the space-time after ancient chaos was controlled by Yuzan Daozan. If he didn't do this, he would find it difficult to advance further, and even more impossible to break through to quasi-Immortal Emperor. Besides this, it was also related to Earth Star. If one day you return to Earth Star, you will do the same. You could understand the first half of what Yihei said. For the latter half, you were very puzzled. Listening to his words, it seemed Earth Star had a great connection with the prehistoric powerhouses. Could it be that even if prehistoric powerhouses descended, as a transmigration from Earth Star, you could still benefit from it? However, even if Immortal Venerable Yihei of the mortal world spoke eloquently, you could not release him now. Because your strength still had a lot of room for improvement, and the speed of improvement was not slow. It wouldn't be too late to consider this aspect when your strength reached a plateau. Afterward, Immortal Venerable of the mortal world introduced Immortal Venerable Wushi and Red Dust Demon Venerable to you. These two were his seniors, but because he was a transmigration, he later surpassed them. You curiously asked if the chaos clock in your hand was Immortal Venerable Wushi's previous Wushi bell. Immortal Venerable Wushi said with a dark expression that it was true. Anyway, he had also snatched it from someone else, so now that you had taken it, he had nothing to say. Red Dust Demon Venerable, however, had been observing you. Finally, she sighed and softly said, "You are not him." You felt bewildered by this statement. Immortal Venerable of the mortal world explained. Red Dust Demon Venerable's elder brother was also a transmigration, but his whereabouts later became unknown. Red Dust Demon Venerable's purpose in cultivating through demonic means was to find her elder brother, and she said this because she saw you were a transmigration. Unexpectedly, Red Dust Demon Venerable had such a convoluted story. However, her brother was a transmigration, Immortal Venerable of the mortal world was also a transmigration, and you were also a transmigration. It seems the number of transmigration is not small. It's just that you haven't encountered many people on your journey so far, which is a bit strange. You expressed your doubts to Immortal Venerable of the mortal world. Immortal Venerable of the mortal world said, "There are indeed many transmigration from Earth Star, but only a few can grow up, or even become Immortal Venerable. Most of them will vanish in the long river of history. Indeed, there are also different levels among transmigration. If you don't work hard, even a transmigration will face a dead end. Fortunately, you worked very hard along the way, which allowed you to break through to Immortal Venerable at the age of 19. You avoided becoming an ant. Perhaps, this is the heavenly Tao rewarding diligence. Next, you conversed with Immortal Venerable of the mortal world for a while. This time, you mainly talked about the Immortal Reverence Hall in Yuzan Daozan. Regarding Yuzan Daozan, Yihei didn't know much either. He only knew that he was a quasi-Immortal Emperor and the Immortal Ancestor, and he seemed to have a special method to control the Immortal Reverence Hall, and he warned you to be careful. You knew that this special method most likely referred to the Yuxuan Golden Chapter. Seeing that Yihei still showed some sincerity, you told him before leaving that you would go back and consider for a while before deciding whether to cooperate with them. Returning to the Immortal Reverence Hall headquarters, you searched for information about Earth Star in the 10,000 Laws Pavilion. Unexpectedly, the elder guarding the pavilion said that the information you needed was on the 9th floor. The 10,000 Laws Pavilion has 9 floors in total. Ordinary disciple can only enter the first 3 floors. With your identity as an elder, the first 6 floors are unobstructed. The 7th and 8th floors require contribution points. Finally, the 9th floor requires Yuzan Daozan's personal permission to enter. Among the elders, only a few have had the privilege of entering the 9th floor. It seems that it won't be easy to find out everything about Earth Star in a short time. You return to the Eternal Life Immortal Palace on Elder Peak to continue your secluded cultivation. At 35 years old, your comprehension of Yin-Yang Tao principles reached perfection. What is Yin and Yang? The Chaos Realm gave birth to Yin and Yang, and then Yin and Yang intertwined to give birth to all things. It can be said that the Yin and Yang Qi are one of the foundations for the existence of all things in heaven and earth. By comprehending Yin-Yang Tao principles, given some time, you could create immortal realm dimensions. You could also expand your Chongsheng world countless times again. Your offensive methods also became more varied, making it impossible for people to guard against them. At 37 years old, you successfully integrated Yin-Yang Dao principles into Myriad Laws Dao principle. The quality of your Myriad Laws Dao principle improved significantly. Myriad Laws Dao principle is your innate Dao principles, and its quality improvement also led to progress in your strength. At 38 years old, you successfully gained an initial understanding of the 9th-ranked Calamity Dao principles. On the path of cultivation, calamities are ubiquitous. Whether it's human-instigated malice or heaven-instigated malice, they always accompany cultivator. In fact, not only cultivator, but all things in heaven and earth have their own calamities. For example, the epic calamity is the calamity of the chaos realm. It was the second Dao principles you planned to engrave, and you had quite high expectations for it. At 40 years old, your calamity Dao principles reached minor achievement. You could feel the endless power of calamity between heaven and earth. At 45 years old, your calamity Dao principles reached major achievement. You could transform the power of calamity between heaven and earth for your own use. At 51 years old, your calamity Dao principles reached perfection. The moment it reached perfection, you felt as if you could manipulate the endless power of calamity between heaven and earth. To test it out, with a thought, rolling lightning tribulation suddenly appeared above the heads of all cultivator in the chaos realm who were currently undergoing a breakthrough to immortal golden immortal. What was going on? Many people were greatly puzzled. Previously, there were no tribulations when breakthrough to golden immortal, so why did lightning tribulation suddenly appear? Especially many people who were in the midst of their breakthrough were completely unprepared. They were instantly struck by the lightning tribulation, leaving them charred outside and black inside. Quite a few people were even reduced to ashes on the spot. Some immortal venerable calculated with their fingers and realized that someone had comprehended the calamity Dao principles and imposed a restriction on those undergoing a breakthrough to golden immortal. This kind of behavior seemed a bit. Many immortal venerable had strange expressions. Immoral, too damn immoral. Don't let me find out who you are. After the news spread, many immortal cultivator cursed aloud. Especially cultivator who were about to break through to golden immortal, their faces were as black as the bottom of a pot. The epic calamity is almost here, and they still won't let people relax. Not only did they not reduce the tribulations, but they also increased the lightning tribulation. Seeing such good results, you nodded in satisfaction. You went to such great lengths to do this not because you had been rained on and therefore wanted to tear up other people's umbrellas. As the saying goes, a sharp sword comes from grinding, and plum blossoms smell fragrant in bitter cold. The closer it gets to the epic calamity, the more one must not relax their vigilance against tribulations. Only in this way can one go further on the path of cultivation. Hopefully, the cultivator of the chaos realm will understand your good intentions. 549. Immortal Venerable 2nd Level, Heart Demon Tribulation. Xuanian requested, Tyrant Martial Immortal Venerable. You discovered that not long after you initiated the golden immortal lightning tribulation, a large amount of resentment gathered towards you. It seems that the living beings still haven't understood your painstaking efforts. You continued to cultivate in seclusion. At 53 years old, you successfully inscribed the Calamity Dao principles into the ancestral court. You broke through to Immortal Venerable 2nd Realm. Your control over the power of calamity ascended to another level. Previously, you could only set tribulations for profound immortal and golden immortal at most, but now even ancestor immortal cannot escape your clutches. Grand Unity golden immortal breaking through to ancestor immortal already entails a nirvana tribulation. But you felt it wasn't enough. Cultivation shouldn't neglect the cultivation of the mind. Only with a strong mind will one reduce the risk of chi deviation and falling into the demonic path. You decided to add a heart demon tribulation to this process. Before long, the Grand Unity Golden Immortal were also astonished to find that after passing the Nirvana tribulation, they did not break through to Ancestor Immortal but instead fell into a heart demon tribulation. Many speculated that this was also the work of the previous, Immoral Immortal Venerable. You looked at the dense, black resentment around you and waved your hand to dispel it. Mere resentment is just a bit of wind and frost. As long as it can benefit all living beings, what does it matter how much resentment there is? Just as you were about to continue your secluded cultivation, Mystic Sound Immortal Venerable actually found you. Mystic Sound Immortal Venerable is an Immortal Venerable 7th Realm, one of the most powerful Immortal Venerable in the Immortal Reverence Hall. It was her great battle with the Asura Immortal Venerable that led to the destruction of the primordial domain back then. You had no major interactions with her, so her arrival greatly surprised you. As soon as Mystic Sound Immortal Venerable saw you, she went straight to the point. You are the Immortal Venerable who recently added new tribulations for the cultivator in the immortal realm, aren't you? You didn't expect such a small matter to alarm Mystic Sound Immortal Venerable. You said regretfully, I was just trying it out casually, I'll remove it now. Mystic Sound Immortal Venerable, however, waved her hand and said that she wasn't here to blame you, but to ask for your help. Upon hearing this, you were curious, with Mystic Sound Immortal Venerable's strength, what could she need your help with? Mystic Sound Immortal Venerable said that she was in the process of evolving an immortal realm dimension, but was lacking the power of calamity and could not achieve perfection. None of the other Immortal Venerable in the Immortal Reverence Hall had fully comprehended the power of calamity. Your appearance now was undoubtedly a great boon for her. She heard from the elder guarding the 10,000 Laws Pavilion that you had inquired about Earthstar, and if you could help her with this, she would give you the relevant information. You didn't expect Mystic Sound Immortal Venerable to know your every move so well. You felt a sense of vigilance. If the transmigration identity were exposed, would it cause trouble for me? But since things had come to this, refusing would only make you seem guilty, so you openly agreed. Subsequently, you followed Mystic Sound Immortal Venerable to the dimension she had created. You saw that it was a vast world, where Tao light and immortal light intertwined, evolving various wondrous sights. There were divine phoenixes dancing, Tao Tai devouring the world, immortal flowers raining down. Everything within it possessed spirituality. This was a vibrant and vast dimension, no smaller in scale than the sixth heaven. Mystic Sound Immortal Venerable called it the Mystic Sound Domain. Although you possessed the Yin-Yang Tao principles, you could only create some small and medium-sized dimensions. Such a large dimension with all things spiritual still left you far behind. Mystic Sound Immortal Venerable said that this was a world she had created over tens of millions of years, using her major achievement creation principle and her perfection Yin-Yang Tao principles. Once it reached perfection, her creation principle would also reach perfection. Instantly, she would be able to break through to Immortal Venerable 8th Realm. Now, it was precisely lacking your power of calamity. Immortal Venerable 8th Realm, even Tian Wu Immortal Lord was only at this realm. Once she broke through, Zan Yin would become the strongest in the Immortal Reverence Hall. You first congratulated her, then with a wave of your hand, a large amount of calamity power spread out. Within the Mystic Sound domain, various tribulations immediately appeared, such as oceans overflowing the world, fire burning the world, fierce winds sweeping, divine lightning piercing the sky. These tribulations were not meant to destroy the world. Instead, they were to bring the world into a balance of creation and destruction. As the saying goes, one yin and one yang, that is the Tao. Only with the power of calamity could the Mystic Sound domain develop healthily, and the powerful beings within it would not exhaust their resources. This calamity evolution lasted for 3 full years. When the power of calamity completely integrated with the Mystic Sound domain, Mystic Sound Immortal Venerable's body derived endless power of creation, her creation principle finally reached perfection. She gave you a small world. Inside, there was not only the information about Earthstar that you wanted. There were also many heaven and earth treasure that could increase comprehension ability. For an Immortal Venerable, the most important thing is comprehension ability. Only with sufficiently high comprehension ability can one quickly comprehend Tao principles. Even though your basic comprehension ability was comparable to that of an Immortal Venerable 7th or 8th Realm expert, there were still many treasures among them that could enhance your comprehension ability. Afterwards, you left the Mystic Sound domain. And Mystic Sound Immortal Venerable remained in seclusion there, preparing to break through to Immortal Venerable 8th Realm. Not long after you left the Mystic Sound domain, a tall and mighty figure blocked your path. The person who came was a middle-aged man, draped in a long robe, with a face that exuded natural authority, giving off a domineering sense of suppressing mountains, rivers, and the universe. This person was precisely one of the top experts in the Immortal Reverence Hall, the Immortal Venerable 7th Realm Bawu Immortal Venerable. At the same time, he was also one of the well-known suitors of Mystic Sound Immortal Venerable. Mystic Sound Immortal Venerable was an innate heavenly god born before the creation of heaven and earth, with noble origins. What was even more commendable was her pure heart, devoted solely to the Tao, and she had never been close to any male immortal. In contrast, Yaoqi Jade Mother, who who was also an innate heavenly god, was initially the empress of the ancient heavenly court, and after the ancient heavenly emperor's death, she had several Tao companions. Compared to her, naturally, more male immortals pursued mystic sound Immortal Venerable. Ba Wu Immortal Venerable was the strongest among them. He looked at you with an unfriendly expression and said, "You brat, what did you do spending 3 years alone with mystic sound Immortal Venerable?" You truthfully replied that mystic sound Immortal Venerable only needed your power of calamity to help her cultivate. Unexpectedly, Ba Wu Immortal Venerable grabbed your collar and angrily said, "Goodness, my disciple's disciple died in a heart demon tribulation, and my disciple's disciple died in a lightning tribulation, so it turns out you were behind all of it." You secretly muttered to yourself that his disciple were truly weak. At this moment, mystic sound Immortal Venerable's clear and cold voice came, "Ba Wu, do not disturb my distinguished guest." Ba Wu Immortal Venerable snorted coldly and let go of you. But he secretly transmitted a warning, telling you not to approach mystic sound Immortal Venerable again in the future, otherwise he would beat you every time he saw you. You were speechless. You didn't go to her yourself, mystic sound Immortal Venerable actively sought you out, okay. 550. The Bloody Disaster, the ancestral star of the human race. The great creation, the change of covering the sky. You threw down a line, "I see a dark aura between your brows, you'll soon suffer a bloody disaster," then slipped away. Ba Wu Immortal Venerable was so enraged that he shattered a stretch of immortal domain with a single punch. The power of that punch affected the nearby mystic sound domain. Mystic sound Immortal Venerable emerged with her sword and slashed him several times. Facing mystic sound Immortal Venerable, Ba Wu Immortal Venerable dared not retaliate and fled, clutching his injured arm. You didn't expect your words to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Ba Wu Immortal Venerable truly did suffer a bloody disaster. However, this undoubtedly caused Ba Wu Immortal Venerable to resent you. Let him resent you. After all, he was the one who provoked you first. After your breakthrough to Immortal Venerable's second layer, your strength greatly increased, and with full power, you were no weaker than a 6th layer Immortal Venerable expert. As long as you break through one more time, Ba Wu Immortal Venerable would be unable to harm you. You had no need to fear him. You returned to the Eternal Life Immortal Palace and took out the jade slip mystic sound Immortal Venerable had given you. After extending your divine thought into it, you finally peeled back a corner of Earth Star's mysterious veil. Earth Star did not appear only in this epoch, its history of existence is very long. How long, you ask? Several epochs long. From ancient times to the present, there have been 9 great epochs: Beast Tao, Soul Tao, Human Tao, Demon Tao, Demonic Path, Divine Tao, Curse Path, Profound Tao, and Immortal Tao. And Earth Star appeared in the 3rd epoch, the Human Tao era. The Human Tao era, as the name suggests, was an epoch belonging to the human race. The human race completely rose to prominence in this epoch, becoming the protagonists of heaven and earth. And Earth Star was the ancestral star where the human race was born. The Immortal Emperor of the Human Tao era, Emperor Yu Immortal Emperor, originated from Earth Star. Before leaving the Chaos Realm, Emperor Yu Immortal Emperor refined the ancestral star. Thereafter, it did not perish with the epic calamity. Instead, it has continued to exist until now. This is the origin of Earth Star. Perhaps calling it the ancestral star is more appropriate. You didn't expect its origin to be so astonishing. Previously, you thought it was just an ordinary planet. After all, before your transmigration, human race civilization had only developed for a few thousand years, and the people on it couldn't even travel to other stars. Their power level was extremely low. Now it seems, it is far from that simple. The information given by Mystic Sound Immortal Venerable was also quite brief, only roughly introducing the ancestral star's origin. More secrets might still need to be uncovered from Heaven Shading Immortal Venerable. For example, where exactly is the ancestral star located now? Is it in a certain time node, like the Tao Ruins realm? Or is it in a special space, using other shore sky as a passage? The ancestral star has clearly existed for untold billions of years. Why, before your transmigration, had civilization only developed for a few thousand years? You had too many questions in your heart. However, you don't need to urgently resolve these questions now. You are also not in a hurry to return to the ancestral star. Many transmigrators are eager to return to take care of their parents in their old age or extend their lifespans. But you were also an orphan on the ancestral star, with no ties. Why be in a hurry to return? To kick kindergartens and punch nursing homes? Even if you had a few friends, they were mere acquaintances, it's impossible for you, having achieved Tao, to bring them along for the ride. Moreover, on the ancestral star, you often heard the saying, ancestral star prison. Perhaps it's still a dangerous place. You were even less in a hurry to return. Your top priority now is still to improve your strength. The next Tao principle you wished to engrave was the 8th ranked creation principle. The top 10 supreme Tao principles. Any one of them is by no means easy to comprehend. Mystic Sound Immortal Venerable also spent countless years and, finally with your help, fully comprehended the creation principle. Hong Jun old ancestor once also aimed for the creation principle. He wanted to make it his Banyang Tao principle. Now, the grass on his grave is several feet high. The biggest contributor to your ability to comprehend yin-yang and disaster in a few decades was your infinite enlightenment. Without it, even if your basic comprehension ability was very high, it would be extremely difficult to comprehend a supreme Tao principle. At 57 years old, because you observed the mystic sound domain created by Mystic Sound Immortal Venerable using the creation principle, you quickly achieved minor achievement in the creation principle. A large amount of creation power gathered around you. What is creation? Tao gives birth to 1, 1 gives birth to 2, 2 gives birth to 3, this is creation. This is a type of power with strong creative properties. The birth of worlds, the growth of all spirits, heaven and earth treasure, all are inseparable from creation power. Yin and Yang combine to give birth to all things. This process contains creation power. Otherwise, what is born would only be dead objects. Mystic Sound Immortal Venerable's Mystic Sound domain was created using the creation principle and Yin-Yang Tao principles. Of course, your creation principle is currently only at the minor achievement stage. Once your creation principle reaches major achievement and even perfection, you can also create similar dimensions. At 59 years old, your creation principle reached minor achievement. Your control over creation power advanced further. You discovered that primal chaos origin purple chi is also composed of a large amount of creation power. If you could analyze it, even without relying on the Hongmeng Dao Palace in the future, you yourself could continuously produce innate spirit treasure. At 64 years old, your creation principle reached major achievement. After that, you spent a year thoroughly analyzing the primal chaos origin purple chi. You could produce a wisp of primal chaos origin purple chi every day, while the Hongmeng Dao Palace could only produce 1 wisp every few days. Your speed was even faster than the Hongmeng Dao Palace. Of course, the origin purple chi produced by the Hongmeng Dao Palace was completely sufficient, and there was no need for you to produce it. And your analysis of the primal chaos origin purple chi allowed your understanding and use of creation power to reach an even higher level. You continued to comprehend the creation principle. Half a year later, Demon Subduing Immortal Venerable suddenly sent you a message, saying that the prisoners in Black Prison had rioted again and hoped you could lend him a hand. Logically speaking, riots should not occur so frequently, because each riot also greatly diminishes the strength of the prisoners. You felt this time was unusual. You did not refuse and sent a Tao body to go. Last time you went in your main body, but this time you only sent a Tao body. If Demon Subduing Immortal Venerable knew, he might be displeased. But, he is a 5th layer Immortal Venerable. Your current strength is even greater than his. He could not distinguish whether you sent a Tao body or your main body. After your Tao body arrived, it only displayed the same strength as last time. After some effort, the riot was quelled. Demon Subduing Immortal Venerable invited you to a banquet again, saying that few Immortal Venerables were willing to come to this cursed place, and that you were more forthright. That night, Heaven Shading Immortal Venerable again transmitted a message to you. You had anticipated this, but you were still greatly surprised after going there. Because this time, he actually wanted to give you the ancestral star's coordinates. Before, he was tight-lipped. Why the sudden change in attitude now? 551. The mystery of the ancestral planet, returning to Earth. Times have changed, and old friends have encountered each other. Covering Heaven Immortal Venerable said, originally, he hadn't planned to say it so soon, but someone from the ancestral star sent news that the location of the ancestral star had been discovered by the otherworldly Immortal Exalted. He said that you are also a transmigration from the ancestral star, and your strength is not weak, hoping that you will not stand idly by. You curiously asked, that's the human race ancestral star, with a legacy from the distant 3rd epoch. Is its strength really that weak, unable to even resist an Immortal Venerable? Covering heaven Immortal Venerable sighed and said that you would know once you went, and then he told you the location of the ancestral star. You were surprised to find that you had visited the location of the ancestral star in your last simulation. It was precisely within the Jehu domain. At that time, in order to find the whereabouts of the Emperor God Stone, you went there and also conveniently snatched the Feng God Star of the Feng family. After you agreed to go, Covering heaven Immortal Venerable and the others also stopped their rampage, and the chaos in the black prison subsided. Demon subduing Immortal Venerable thanked you again. However, this time you did not stay long in the black prison. After only half a day, you left the black prison and headed to the Jehu domain. The Jehu domain is composed of countless stars, and the closer to the central area, the stronger the stars. Some colossal stars have tens of millions of stars orbiting them, and their area is no smaller than the 10 directions land. However, Earth Star, the human race ancestral star, is located in the most border wasteland part of the Jehu domain. The civilization on it is only a surface civilization, inconspicuous in the Jehu domain. However, as you looked at this blue planet, you were filled with emotion. You, a transmigration from here, later couldn't find it no matter what, and unexpectedly, this time, through Covering heaven Immortal Venerable, you returned here. With a sweep of your divine thought, you saw through the ancestral star, inside and out. It looked like a very ordinary, weak star, completely unrelated to the ancient human race ancestral star. However, upon your careful exploration, you discovered that deep within the ancestral star's space, there were faintly folded dimensions. It is estimated that that is the true human race ancestral star, and the external star is just a disguise. However, even you found it difficult to enter it. Is there an entrance on the external star? You took a step and arrived on the ancestral star, appearing in the community where you once lived. Your appearance had not changed, you were still a graceful young man. You are now over 60 years old. After successfully cultivating, your appearance became increasingly similar to your student days in your previous life. If you were to be met by old acquaintances, they would surely exclaim that they had seen a ghost. But with your ability, unless you wanted others to see you and remember you, they would not be able to discover you at all, nor could they spread any information related to you. The community where you once lived was already dilapidated, with only a few elderly people still residing there. It no longer had the vibrant appearance of decades ago. This was already an old urban area, many people had moved to the new urban area. The school you once attended had also relocated. The company you worked for had long since disappeared into the river of history. You wandered around the community, and your former neighbors looked at you with surprise and uncertainty. How could this person be so similar to a long-dead acquaintance? In your previous life, you were already working, and it was only by hitting a large freight truck that you transmigration to the Little Yuan realm. Many people still felt sorry for you. Unexpectedly, decades later, it was such a coincidence to see someone so similar. You then left the community, walking through the city you once knew, looking at the changed scenery, filled with emotion. 552. The matter is over, and the clothes are brushed off, and the Shengqing temple is here. World War, sweeping away everything. You humbly said that you were saved by your master, and now you cultivate the Tao in Kunlun. You cannot be considered an immortal, just someone with minor achievements. The three of them were deeply shocked, realizing that there truly were cultivators in the world. You spent some time with the three of them, then left without much delay. Not long after, it was exposed that the three corrupt officials killed by Zhou Chu were not only embezzlers but also enemy spies and protectors of black forces. In short, they were guilty of countless heinous crimes, deserving of 1,000 cuts. Zhou Chu instantly transformed from an on-the-run murderer into a hero of Hangxia. The authorities welcomed him back to the country with the highest honors. Meanwhile, Zhao Lin, who was waiting for retirement at the machinery factory, won a 5 million yuan lottery prize with a ticket he had just bought, further securing his retirement life. Negative news about Wang Dekai's wife, Yan Dongping, was also exposed online by an unknown person. Public opinion was in an uproar. Especially the scene of Yan Dongping laughing triumphantly in court, which people jokingly called, anciently there was Jinlian's medicine, now there is Dongping's laugh. Nanshan law firm, the most powerful in Hangxia's legal circle, stepped forward to defend him pro bono. Finally, in the second trial, the first trial's verdict was overturned, and Yan Dongping was ordered to leave with nothing. A few days later, someone found Yan Dongping's body in her home. The police department initially ruled it a crime of passion. Afterward, her lover confessed to the crime without reservation. These three events happened almost consecutively. And all of them occurred after your appearance. When Zhou Chu, Zhao Lin, and Wang Dekai gathered again, they couldn't help but suspect that you, this, immortal, had intervened and helped them. Is this what it means for the trivial matters of the mortal world to be empty, and it's better to cultivate the Tao in Kunlun? Matters that trouble mortals can be easily resolved by an immortal. However, they had already lost track of you and didn't know when they would meet again. At this time, you had already arrived at Hengxia Ancient Kingdom's largest cultivation force, the Shangqing Temple. The Shangqing Temple is located among famous mountains, and the old temple master's strength is comparable to a saint of the profound yellow great world. On Earth Star, a single move from him could destroy the world. But regarding your appearance, he was helpless. He could only watch as you roamed freely within the temple. The old temple master looked at your seemingly full of flaws figure, sweating profusely, and secretly thought, he is full of flaws from head to toe, why do I feel like I will die if I make a move? He believed you were likely an old monster who had been in seclusion for a long time. Now it seemed you held no great malice, so he let you be. You visited several important sites in the Shangqing Temple and searched for ancient documents in the scripture pavilion, unexpectedly finding a clue. Ancient texts stated that the ancestral star would experience a spiritual chi resurgence every million years. At that time, many ancient immortals and gods would awaken. The ancestral star would also expand countless times. You believed that the so-called spiritual chi resurgence was most likely the deeper dimensions of space merging with the ancestral star. However, the next spiritual chi resurgence was still tens of thousands of years away. You clearly couldn't wait that long. With your power as an immortal venerable, it was not impossible to make the spiritual chi resurgence happen earlier. However, you still needed more clues to complete this plan. Hengxia Ancient Kingdom has the Shangqing Temple. Other countries also have their own cultivation forces. It seems it's time to pay them a visit. Just as you were about to depart, the three nations of White Eagle, Abang, and Southern Barbarian suddenly declared war on Hengxia. Among these three countries, only Southern Barbarian bordered Hengxia. White Eagle and Abang were hundreds of thousands of miles away from Hengxia. Southern Barbarian had been severely taught a lesson by Hengxia a decade ago. White Eagle and Abang had also signed a friendly treaty with Hengxia not long ago. Unexpectedly, they all turned hostile so quickly, intending to attack Hengxia. Unusual events must have a reason. Under your divine thought scan, the consciousness of the high-ranking officials of the other 5 countries was affected by a strong unknown force, greatly increasing their hostility towards Hengxia. The Mumo Empire and the Northern Aurora Empire did not make a move. This was because previous wars had severely weakened both countries. The two countries wanted to watch from the sidelines, hoping to gain from the conflict. You also thought of the otherworldly immortal exalted mentioned by Immortal Venerable Yihei. Could it be that he made a move? But why target Hengxia? Does Hengxia have something special? The three great empires quickly formed an allied army and attacked Hengxia. The first to arrive were the masters of the cultivation world. The pantheon of the White Eagle Empire, the cross temple of the Abang Empire, and the head-down society of the Southern Barbarian Empire were all well-known existences on Earth Star. With the three united, it would be difficult for Hengxia's cultivation world alone to resist. The old temple master of the Shangqing Temple wanted to ask for your help. But he didn't know where you had gone. Perhaps even an reclusive master like you would be helpless against such a powerful lineup. The old temple master led the cultivators of Hengxia's cultivation world, with a determination to die, to block the invaders. Military weapons had little effect on these powerful cultivators. Even the most powerful nuclear weapons could hardly hit them. Only cultivators could deal with cultivators. This was a recognized iron rule among all nations. Hengxia's cultivation world, fighting 1 against 3, soon suffered heavy casualties, and many even led the charge in betraying their country. Just as the old temple master thought the situation was lost and felt despair, a giant hand descended from the sky, annihilating all heretics and traitors. What god of technology, god of thunder, god of magic net, earth knight commander, sky knight commander, head-down demon infant, all were crushed. A single strike swept away the three most powerful cultivation forces on Earth Star. The news spread, shocking the world. A master of the old temple master's level, capable of moving mountains and filling seas, was already considered a divine rank master in the cultivation world. Unexpectedly, Hengxia ancient kingdom actually had a super divine rank master. The White Eagle Empire, Abang Empire, and Southern Barbarian Empire were terrified. A divine rank master could move mountains and fill seas. A super divine rank master probably had the power to destroy a planet. They immediately ordered all their troops to be recalled and offered compensation to Hengxia. The high-ranking officials of Hengxia ancient kingdom asked the old temple master, who exactly was this senior? The old temple master helplessly said that he didn't know either. However, he vaguely guessed that this person was you. Besides you, he couldn't think of anyone else. But where were you at this moment? This was not only the old temple master's question but also the question of most cultivators. As a super divine rank master, your every move concerned the future direction of Earth Star. Many people wanted to contact you as soon as possible, at least to understand your temperament and reduce unexpected risks. Then, as they wished. A few days later, the headquarters of the Cross Temple welcomed an uninvited guest, who in an instant suppressed all the masters at the headquarters. Many people heard the news and rushed there. 553. The Cross Temple, the aura of the Immortal Lord. Suppress the kingdom of God, target the White Eagle. The Cross Temple is a cultivation force with a long legacy. Among the various cultivation forces on Earth Star, its history is second only to the Shengqing Dao Temple of Hengxia Kingdom. The crusades organized by the Cross Temple back then struck fear into countless forces. Such an existence could be suppressed by a mere flick of a finger. Besides that mysterious divine rank expert from Hengxia Kingdom, who else could it be? At this moment, you are strolling through the forbidden land of the Cross Temple, Vatican Mountain. The mountain houses many mysterious items, most of which were plundered during the Crusades. Uriel, the temple master, is humbly introducing these items beside you. It seems your strength has completely subdued him. However, you can sense that this is a disguise. In his heart, there seems to be hope for a comeback, and you don't know where he gets such confidence. After a tour, you did not find anything useful among these mysterious items. But that doesn't mean the Cross Temple has nothing that interests you. For example, you are quite interested in the Holy Grail, which the Cross Temple regards as a sacred artifact, as it carries the aura of an immortal Venerable. When you stated your demand, Uriel's expression changed, and he finally gritted his teeth and agreed. However, you could sense that his heart was filled with wild joy, as if he couldn't wait to hand the Holy Grail to you. Could there be some hidden mystery in this Holy Grail, which is the source of his confidence? You playfully took the Holy Grail into your hand. The Holy Grail was not overly miraculous, it merely produced holy water daily, which was greatly beneficial for cultivation. This holy water held no secrets in your eyes, it was merely a spiritual liquid condensed by the Holy Grail. But that immortal Venerable aura was extraordinary, it seemed to have been left behind by an expert above the immortal Venerable 6th layer. It's rather interesting that the origin of the Cross Temple is connected to such an existence. The moment you touched the Holy Grail, it burst forth with intense light, and the immortal Venerable aura on it began to retaliate against you. You sneered, even if its owner came, you would not fear, let alone just an aura. You exerted a slight force with your palm, and that aura was forcibly crushed by you, and the Holy Grail also turned into dust under the aftershock. This was still the result of your deliberate control, otherwise, if even a trace of the aftershock spread out, the entire Earth star would turn into cosmic dust. But Uriel was not disappointed. When he saw the Holy Grail destroyed by you, the joy in his heart grew even stronger. This Holy Grail wasn't his greatest source of confidence after all. You were slightly surprised. At this moment, a huge white light portal suddenly opened above Vatican Mountain. A terrifyingly powerful 12-winged seraphim, holding a holy sword, walked out from within and roared at you, "How dare you destroy my lord's token? Die!" With that, the holy sword in his hand slashed towards you. Blazing white light instantly enveloped you. That's great. It's Archangel Michael. We are saved. The Lord has not forgotten us. Praise our Lord Yeland. Many believers on Vatican Mountain knelt down one after another. Many even shed tears, for they had finally seen the messenger of God. And many foreign cultivators who had come here were greatly astonished upon seeing this scene. Michael, that's a legendary figure, to think he actually exists. What is that white portal? Does it lead to the divine kingdom? Some were fearful, some were shocked, and some felt their hearts ablaze. Just then, the white light exploded, and Michael, like a dead dog, was lifted by his neck by you and thrown to the ground. How can this be? That's a 12-winged seraphim, rumored to possess power comparable to a god. Many found it hard to believe, feeling it was inconceivable. Many cross-temple believers felt their faith crumble even more. And the next moment, you stepped into the white portal. You had already learned from Michael's memory that this was indeed the divine kingdom established by Yeland, the one supreme god worshipped by the cross-temple. Within the divine kingdom, the steps, buildings, walls, and even people's clothing were all white. There were also many chanting sounds in the void realm. These were Yeland's believers, praying to him. Only his fanatical believers could come to the divine kingdom after death, so daily prayers were essential. The guardian angels here were extremely angry at your intrusion and attacked you, the heretic, in unison. But, with a single glance from you, they were all annihilated. You discovered quite a few immortal Venerable auras here, identical to the one on the Holy Grail. It seems that Immortal Venerable 6th layer expert was Yeland. However, he had been missing for hundreds of thousands of years, and even the angels of the divine kingdom did not know his whereabouts. However, before he left behind a rare and wondrous treasure, which you gladly accepted. This wondrous treasure, named the Stone of Destiny, possessed the power of incomplete Destiny Tao principles. And Destiny Tao principles, among the 3,000 Tao principles, ranked as the supreme existence. Therefore, its value was no less than that of an innate supreme treasure. Even the most powerful 12-winged angels were only equivalent to earth immortals. To think that in this weak divine kingdom, you could still have such a harvest, it was well worth your trip. Subsequently, you left the divine kingdom and came to the outside world. Your next destination, the White Eagle Empire. Earth Star has 6 great nations: Hengxia, White Eagle, Abang, Mumo, Aurora, and Southern Barbarian. Besides the Shangqing Dao Temple of the ancient Hengxia Kingdom, only the Cross Temple of the Abang Empire and the Assembly of Gods of the White Eagle Empire were something you couldn't completely see through. As for the other cultivation forces, they had nowhere to hide under your divine thought, so there was no need for you to go there in person. You had already visited the Shangqing Dao Temple and the Cross Temple. Now only the Assembly of Gods remained. After suppressing the angel and breaking into the divine kingdom, your reputation once again swept through the Earth Star cultivation world. This time, you appeared in your true form, and many people were shocked to see that you were actually a 17 or 18-year-old youth. And the Hengxia officials quickly identified your origin based on your appearance. Seeing that you, a person who had been missing for over 40 years, could possess such cultivation, undoubtedly shocked people even more. And your 3 university roommates, soon after your appearance, each gained benefits, which further confirmed your identity. The Hengxia officials quickly protected Zhou Chu, Zhao Lin, and Wang Dekai. Doing so could both foster good relations and prevent any harm to the 3 from incurring your wrath. It could be said to be the most cost-effective approach. And your true identity also caused a huge stir in the cultivation world. Old monsters of several millennia were not uncommon in the cultivation world, but your ability to possess such strength in just a few decades undoubtedly made people curious about what heaven-defying opportunity you had. And this time, you are heading to the former world hegemon, the White Eagle Empire. It is unknown whether it can force out all your trump cards. 554. The headquarters of the gods, alien civilization. The 3 bodies have arrived, the only true god. The White Eagle Empire was on high alert due to your arrival. Before you even approached the territory of the White Eagle Empire, several nuclear missiles were launched at you. Nuclear missiles posed a certain threat even to a being like the master of Shangqing Temple, not to mention the White Eagle Empire used the largest yield warheads. However, when you emerged unscathed from the center of the nuclear explosion, many high-ranking officials of the White Eagle Empire despaired. If even this could not harm you in the slightest, who else on Earth Star could stop you? With a single thought, all of the White Eagle Empire's nuclear launch centers and nuclear facilities were completely destroyed. These were the White Eagle Empire's most prized possessions. Without these nuclear facilities, the White Eagle Empire was like a tiger without its fangs. Afterward, you went directly to the headquarters of the Pantheon. The White Eagle Empire's Pantheon headquarters was located within the Presidential Mountain, its most famous mountain. Before you even got close, you saw President Adam leading a group of Pantheon experts, waiting respectfully at the entrance from afar. When you arrived before the crowd, President Adam respectfully said, "Powerful Mr. Liu, my Pantheon, representing the White Eagle official, is willing to compensate you for all your losses. As long as you name it, energy, money, food, technology, everything, we will do our utmost to satisfy you. You said these things were useless to you and that you wanted to visit the Pantheon headquarters now. A sinister look flashed across Adam's face, but he quickly replaced it with a smile and respectfully led you inside. At the Pantheon headquarters, you saw many creations that surpassed modern civilization, including numerous faith conversion devices that could artificially create gods. Many powerful gods of the Pantheon, such as the god of technology, god of thunder, and god of magic web who died by your hand, were all artificially created through these devices. Adam introduced them to you, saying these were relics of the Atlantis civilization, and they had only fortunately obtained them. A look of inexplicable meaning flashed across your face, and you smiled. Ancient civilization relics? I don't think so. Isn't the true ruler of the Pantheon going to come out and meet me? Clap, clap, clap. The sound of applause rang out. A small gray alien, about 1.45 meters tall and completely smooth, walked out of a secret room. The small gray alien said in a hoarse voice, as expected of the most powerful being on Earth Star, "You are qualified to cooperate with our Trisolaran civilization. What is your excellency's opinion?" You asked. "Why should I cooperate with you?" The small gray alien let out a strange cackle and said that you were indeed very strong, and your energy index was no less than that of a heavenly immortal expert in the Starry Sea, but to the Trisolaran civilization you were just cannon fodder. If you refuse to cooperate, when the Trisolaran civilization descends, you will only die without a burial place. Adam also sneered from the side. Didn't expect it, did you? My Pantheon actually has an alien civilization behind it. The great Trisolarans are about to descend and transform Earth Star. Even if you have some strength, if you don't join, you can only wait for death. You asked curiously, aren't the Pantheon afraid of inviting a wolf into their house? Vice President Lugia C., who had sent the signal to the Trisolarans, stepped forward and said, "The Trisolaran civilization far surpasses Earth Star, and their moral standards must be the same. They are here to help Earth Star enter a better era. You should not judge a gentleman by your own petty standards. Eliminate human tyranny, the world belongs to the Trisolarans." At this moment, many Pantheon members began to shout loudly. It seemed these guys were all members of the Adventists. With a sweep of your divine thought, the true nature of the Trisolaran civilization was revealed in perfect detail. This was a civilization dominated by slaughter and fierce competition. 555. The Immortal of Yunding, the secret realm of Kunlun. The Valley of Sin, the mysterious stone egg. In the tomb-raiding world, Cloud Summit Heavenly Palace is rumored to be the land of immortality. It is a place countless tomb raiders dream of. These tomb raiders, upon seeing the Heavenly Palace's unusual phenomenon, immediately began to climb. Before they could climb much further, the phenomenon slowly dissipated. At this moment, you have already entered the Cloud Summit Heavenly Palace. 3 Earth Immortals emerged from the Heavenly Palace to greet you. You inquired and learned that these 3 were ordered by Kunlun Immortal Palace to guard the ancient kingdom of Hengxia. In this way, you understood that the Cloud Summit Heavenly Palace on Mount Tai is similar to Abang's Divine Kingdom, serving as a national foundation. You conversed with the 3 Earth Immortals for a long time and learned many secrets. Of course, what interested you most was the Kunlun Immortal Palace above them. Even with your strength, you had not discovered its trace on Earth Star. There must be the handiwork of an immortal Venerable involved. According to the 3, Kunlun Immortal Palace is currently the strongest force on Earth Star, and generally does not allow outsiders to enter. However, due to your astonishing achievements, the 3 speculated that you possess golden immortal strength, and if you wished to visit Kunlun Immortal Palace, they would be willing to request permission for you. Before long, a directive came from Kunlun Immortal Palace, allowing you to visit. Under the guidance of the 3 Earth Immortals, you arrived at the highest peak of the Kunlun Mountains. Then, a strange portal opened. Immortal light surged from the other end, as if leading to the immortal realm. Upon entering, you found countless rare treasures and exotic beasts inside. Anything taken out and placed in the cultivation world of Earth Star would be a long-life substance that people would fight over. However, what surprised you most was that the palace master of Kunlun Immortal Palace was an immortal lord. This realm was not too high, but too low. The location of Kunlun Immortal Palace was a vast secret realm no smaller than the 10 Directions land. And it was also separated by an immortal Venerable using yin and yang. You thought its palace master would at least be an immortal king. With a sweep of your divine thought, Kunlun's secret realm indeed seemed to have an immortal king, but he was in a deep slumber. The Kunlun Palace Master, calling himself Immortal Sovereign Donghua, invited you as an honored guest. From his tone, he also seemed to treat you as an immortal lord. You inquired about the origin of Earth Star and its relationship with the ancestral star. Earth Star is small and weak, and definitely cannot be the legendary birthplace of the human race. Immortal Sovereign Donghua's answer was indeed as you expected. Earth Star is merely the entrance to the ancestral star, not the true ancestral star, including the various sub-dimensions on Earth Star, such as Kunlun's secret realm, which are merely appendages of the ancestral star. The true ancestral star transcends the river of time and only appears when an epoch is destroyed and reborn. There are many immortal venerables on the ancestral star, many of whom have a need to communicate with the outside world, which is why they created Earth Star as an entry and exit point. Of course, only those immortal venerables know how to enter and exit the true ancestral star. Hearing this, you were very curious whether the immortal venerable Yehe knew how to enter the ancestral star. Or rather, he only knew the location of Earth Star. Judging from his confusion of Earth Star with the ancestral star, he most likely did not know the existence of the true ancestral star. So, the question arises. Is the reason for your transmigration related to the ancestral star or Earth Star? Immortal Sovereign Donghua also did not know this question. Although he had encountered many transmigrators, he had never been to the true ancestral star and did not know the true origin of transmigrators. After the conversation, Immortal Sovereign Donghua took you to visit some important places in Kunlun's secret realm. The most famous among them was a Tao comprehension stone, rumored that Mount Tai Immortal Emperor from the ancestral star once cultivated on it. Your Tao thought indeed discovered an aura similar to the transcendent mark. Your heart itched, but you were not some ruthless bandit, so it was impossible to directly snatch it. Coupled with Immortal Sovereign Donghua's good attitude, you had to temporarily restrain yourself. When you arrived at the Sin-Locking Valley, Immortal Sovereign Donghua introduced it as a place where some extremely wicked individuals were imprisoned. Your Tao thought could see that several immortal lords were imprisoned inside. However, what surprised you was that from the depths of Sin-Locking Valley, a faint, familiar aura emanated. Your Tao thought discovered it was a stone egg, covered densely with seal runes laid down by an immortal venerable. What is this thing? This was your first time in Kunlun's secret realm, and the seal on this stone egg was clearly ancient. How could you sense a familiar aura? You directly asked Immortal Sovereign Donghua. Unexpectedly, his expression slightly changed, saying that it was a devil head sealed by Immortal Reverend Kai Li from the ancestral star tens of thousands of years ago, and he did not know its specific origin. He advised you not to investigate too much, as angering an immortal venerable could bring about great disaster. Since it concerned an immortal venerable, you could not act recklessly. As you prepared to leave, a faint thought emanated from the stone egg. My child, save me. What is this? You stopped in your tracks. You had already sensed a familiar aura, and now it addressed you in such a way, making you suspect that the sealed object inside was closely related to you. Ignoring Immortal Sovereign Donghua's dissuasion, you broke into the deepest part of Sin-Locking Valley. Seeing this, Immortal Sovereign Donghua's expression turned cold, and he activated the grand formation within the valley, intending to trap you inside. However, these formations were like paper to you, easily torn apart. You walked out, holding a stone egg. Immortal Sovereign Donghua was greatly shocked and disbelieving. To break the formation, one would need at least the strength of a supreme immortal king. You were not an immortal lord, but a supreme immortal king. Who dares to be presumptuous in Kunlun Immortal Palace? Just then, a powerful aura awakened in the distance. A heroic, tall, and vigorous man in armor arrived here. Immortal Sovereign Donghua quickly bowed and said, Immortal King Tianrui, this person forcibly entered Sin-Locking Valley, please punish him, Immortal King. After speaking, Immortal King Tianrui's gaze swept coldly towards you. Immortal Sovereign Donghua was full of confidence. Immortal King Tianrui is an Emperor Light Immortal King. Even if you are a Supreme Immortal King, you will still be captured. The next moment, Immortal King Tianrui made his move. Then, he was subdued by your single move. Immortal Sovereign Donghua was dumbfounded and incredulous. He initially thought you were an Immortal Lord, but then you displayed the strength of a Supreme Immortal King, and now you could easily suppress even an Emperor Light Immortal King. You are just a transmigrator who has cultivated for a few decades, how could you be so powerful? He couldn't even see your upper limit. Immortal King Tianrui was still struggling in your palm, trying to escape. You found him troublesome and directly crushed him to death to search his soul. It turned out that he was under Immortal Reverend Kai Li's command, specifically responsible for guarding this stone egg. 556. Kai Li Shanzun, Earth Star Heaven Dao. Crossing the mystery, the death of God's will. However, Immortal King Tianrui did not know the origin of this stone egg, only that it was something very important. If you forcibly break the seal, you might alarm Immortal Reverend Kai Li. According to Immortal King Tianrui's memory, Immortal Reverend Kai Li's strength is extraordinary. He is an immortal venerable 8th realm master, not someone you can contend with at your current stage. However, you are not alone. You still have the Immortal Reverence Hall backing you. If push comes to shove, you can always rely on your backer. After all, you are merely a transmigrator from Earth Star, not from the true ancestral star. You and Immortal Reverend Kai Li, who is from the ancestral star, are not on the same side. Immortal Lord Donghua asked you about your origin, and you smiled without speaking. He then said that even if you could kill Emperor Light Immortal King, the stone egg had an immortal venerable seal on it, which you could not possibly undo. Then, in front of him, you spent less than half an hour breaking all the seal runes. Immortal Lord Donghua fell silent. You truly are a monster with no upper limit. He suspected that you might have been subjected to possession by some old monster and were not a transmigrator from Earth Star at all. Your achievements today are solely due to your own efforts. Those who do not strive, like Immortal Lord Donghua, cannot comprehend your realm. After the seal runes were broken, the stone egg glowed brightly. A magnificent will burst forth from within. You were somewhat surprised. This seemed to be the heavenly Tao will. Then, that will told you that it was indeed a heavenly Tao, and specifically, the Dixing heavenly Tao. Of course, many people on Earth Star prefer to call it Gaia. Earth Star was created by people from the ancestral star about 5 to 6 billion years ago to serve as a passage connecting the ancestral star and the chaos realm. From that moment on, the Dixing heavenly Tao began to gestate. It wasn't until several million years ago, when it obtained a jade creation disk fragments, that it fully formed. Then, it gave birth to a new human race. So, in a sense, all people on Earth Star are its children. You were curious why it wanted to give birth to the human race. Since there was no human race before, presumably, the people of the ancestral star did not want this kind of creature to appear here. The Dixing heavenly Tao said that it was for its own salvation. Since Earth Star is merely an entrance, it will inevitably be destroyed one day. And as the Dixing heavenly Tao, it would also perish with it. After giving birth to the new human race, it continuously used the jade plate of fortune to create transmigrators. Each of these transmigrators had a golden finger given by it, allowing them to grow rapidly. These golden fingers could help them break through to Immortal Emperor at most. After that, they would have to rely on themselves. As long as someone could break through to Immortal Venerable, they could bring it into the next epoch and live another life. You asked, could your golden finger also have come from this source? The Dixing heavenly Tao said blankly, I don't know. Since I was sealed by Immortal Reverend Kai Li 30,000 years ago, I haven't been able to create transmigrators. How did you transmigration? How did your golden finger come to be? It also didn't know. You were a bit disappointed. You originally thought your transmigration was also related to it. However, on second thought, it made sense. With the Dixing heavenly Tao's capabilities, it would be impossible to create something like the simulator. Was your transmigration caused by someone from the ancestral star? Is the origin of the simulator related to the ancestral star? Afterward, you asked it if you should get some benefits for helping it lift the seal. For example, the jade plate of fortune would be quite good. 557. Shira appears, the immortal palace takes action. Explore the Earth Star, and the passage begins to appear. The death of Divine Intent Demon Lord bought you some time against Immortal Reverend Kai Li. Your Tao body escaped Earth Star during this interval. To your surprise, Immortal Reverend Kai Li did not pursue you. He merely glanced at you from afar before disappearing from Earth Star. You estimated he returned to his ancestral court. Why was he unwilling to leave Earth Star? Could it be that the powerhouses of the ancestral court were restricted in some way? Or perhaps he didn't want to attract too much attention from the immortal venerables of this epoch. Regardless of the reason, the first person you had to thank was Divine Intent Demon Lord. Divine Intent Demon Lord had taken so many blame for you in the last simulation. This time, he risked his life again to save your Tao body. He truly was a benevolent person. With Divine Intent Demon Lord dead and Immortal Reverend Kai Li gone, you had no intention of returning to Earth Star. You feared Immortal Reverend Kai Li might be hiding somewhere to ambush you. Before long, another powerful aura arrived near Earth Star. The newcomer this time was Asura Immortal Venerable, an Immortal Venerable of the 7th tier. You had long sensed his presence, so his arrival did not surprise you. If your guess was correct, Divine Intent Demon Lord's appearance near Earth Star was also related to him. Asura Immortal Venerable gave you a cold glance and snorted, "You truly have a big life." You were a bit displeased, stating that your survival was entirely due to your own strength, not luck. Of course, Divine Intent Demon Lord also provided a little bit of help. Upon hearing you mention Divine Intent Demon Lord, Asura Immortal Venerable's killing intent flared, but he ultimately did not attack. After all, you were not alone, the Immortal Reverence Hall stood behind you. Even if he was a 7th tier Immortal Venerable, with strength far surpassing yours, he still had to weigh his options carefully. Asura Immortal Venerable did not linger, giving a cold snort before directly departing. Since Asura Immortal Venerable had discovered the existence of Earth Star, he would surely make other moves. After some thought, you decided to inform the Immortal Reverence Hall. After all, on the surface, you had already cultivated the Yuxuan Golden Chapter, and everything would prioritize the interests of the Immortal Reverence Hall. Earth Star, as the entrance to the Third Epic's ancestral court, held significant weight. If the people of the Immortal Reverence Hall knew you had hidden it for so long, they would surely become suspicious. Since the foreign Asura Immortal Venerable already knew Earth Star's location, there was no need for you to continue hiding it. Reporting it to the Immortal Reverence Hall might even allow you to uncover more secrets about the ancestral court. Of course, doing so could easily incur the displeasure of Immortal Venerable Zetian. Based on his actions, he clearly did not want the Immortal Reverence Hall to know Earth Star's location. However, if it meant incurring displeasure, then so be it. If he wanted to deal with you, he should first get out of Black Prison. Given his current predicament, even if he had 100,000 years, he wouldn't be able to get out. After 100,000 years, you would no longer fear him. Furthermore, he still possessed a Jade Creation Disc fragments given by the Dixing Heavenly Tao, which was also something you intended to acquire. You two would eventually clash. After making up your mind, your main body on Elder Peak of Yuzan Mountain, the headquarters of the Immortal Reverence Hall, directly dispatched another Tao body to inform Jade Universe Celestial Venerable and others about the matter. Jade Universe Celestial Venerable was greatly surprised. The ancestral court had an extraordinary origin, 100 or even 1,000 times more mysterious than the Tao Ruins realm. Even Yuzan Daozan had not found its location. Unexpectedly, you had found its entrance. He immediately notified the other Immortal Venerables of the Immortal Reverence Hall, intending to go and investigate. The first to arrive was Bawu Immortal Venerable. This time, he clapped you on the shoulder, grinning as he said, "Brat, well done." Your Tao body rubbed its sore shoulder, secretly thinking, this guy did it on purpose, didn't he? In the last simulation, you had devoured Wu Tuo's physical body and cultivated the Great Tao body, making your physical body comparable to an Immortal Venerable. Even so, you still felt sore. If it were any other Immortal Venerable, they might have coughed up blood after such a slap. This guy definitely still held a grudge against you. Most of the more than 20 Immortal Venerables from the Immortal Reverence Hall quickly arrived. The remaining few were either exploring dangerous places or in seclusion. They wouldn't be able to come for a while. The other Immortal Venerables did not wait too long. They grandly set off towards Earth Star in the Jotian domain. Along the way, you grumbled inwardly, "Why do I feel like I'm leading the way for a chieftain?" Tui, you were not a collaborator. You were, luring the enemy deep. The ancestral court was not a benevolent place. It had existed since the Third Epoch, filled with countless powerhouses and experts. The Immortal Reverend Kai Li, an 8th-tier Immortal Venerable, was just the tip of the iceberg of the ancestral court's strength. The Immortal Reverence Hall might not even be able to contend with it. When everyone arrived at Earth Star and observed the past space-time, they discovered that your Tao body had arrived here long ago. They had thought you had only recently discovered it. Bawu Immortal Venerable said with an unfriendly expression, "Immortal Lord Changsheng, since you already knew the ancestral court's location, why did you only report it now?" You calmly replied, "This Venerable is a transmigration from Earth Star. At first, I merely returned to my homeland to ease my homesickness. It was only after deeper exploration that I learned this was the legendary ancestral court entrance." "How can you say I already knew?" Mystic Sound Immortal Venerable had once given you information and might know the inside story, but she was not present at this time. The other Immortal Venerables nodded. They had indeed witnessed the scene of you conversing with Immortal Sovereign Donghua in the past. Some Immortal Venerables even praised Immortal Lord Changsheng to escape from an 8th-tier ancestral court native with only a 2nd-tier Immortal Venerable cultivation is truly rare in the world. Ba Wu Immortal Venerable snorted and did not press the matter further. He could see that you had boundless prospects, and most Immortal Venerables did not want to incur your displeasure. Next, everyone began to explore the passage between Earth Star and the Ancestral Court. It must be said, it was incredibly well hidden. Nearly 20 Immortal Venerables spent almost 3 months to find the true entrance to the passage. It was a constantly shifting speck of dust. One could not discover its special qualities merely by Dao sense. It was only when the Immortal Venerables meticulously searched inch by inch that they discovered its indestructible abnormality. Afterward, Immortal Venerable Kongming of the Ancestral Court, who had inscribed Space Dao principles, used the Space Dao principles to open it. A passage leading to the true Ancestral Court then appeared before you and the various Immortal Venerables. Yaoqi Jade Mother hesitated. Are we just going to enter directly like this? Ba Wu Immortal Venerable snorted. With so many of us, are we afraid of it? 9 Lives Immortal shook his head, saying, no, no. To be cautious, we should first send our incarnations in. You and the other Immortal Venerables also agreed. Ba Wu Immortal Venerable was bold due to his immense skill, but you, with your relatively weaker strength, dared not act recklessly in the face of the legendary Ancestral Court. 558. Space Formation, Domineering Ancestral Star. The Death of the Demon, the 3rd level of Immortal. Thus, all the Immortal Venerables sent an incarnation into the passage. The passage was pitch black, without a trace of light. Even an Immortal Venerable's Dao thoughts could only extend a few dozen to 100 meters. The incarnations cautiously groped their way forward. After several days, the passage still showed no end. The incarnation of Kongming Immortal Venerable said, within this passage, there is an extremely sophisticated spatial formation. If we don't break it, we will never be able to leave. The incarnations of the Immortal Venerables began to discuss countermeasures. You asked Kongming Immortal Venerable how long it would take him to break it. Kongming Immortal Venerable replied, at least several hundred years. This amount of time was undoubtedly too long. Moreover, this was just one spatial formation, who knew if there would be even more powerful formations later. Ba Wu Immortal Venerable suggested they combine their strength to destroy it. Everyone thought it was worth a try and began to exert their power together. Large sections of the Void Realm were destroyed, and the Great Formation teetered, but it ultimately stabilized. At this moment, a cold snort came from the Void Realm. We intended for you to retreat in the face of difficulty, but you still wish to destroy the passage. Do not blame us for being ruthless. After saying this, various attacks converged from all directions. Among them were many attacks from high-level Immortal Venerables. Soon, the Immortal Reverence Hall and the incarnations of the Immortal Venerables were annihilated. Everyone's expressions were grim. They had not expected there to be so many experts on the Ancestral Star. Fortunately, only incarnations had entered, otherwise, it was possible that several Immortal Venerables might have fallen today. You also secretly rejoiced, fortunate not to have explored privately, or the outcome would have been dire. It seemed the people of the Ancestral Star were not so easy to deal with. Although it was the human race's ancestral land, it seemed they did not consider the human race Immortal Venerables of this epoch as allies at all. Yaoqi Jade Mother sighed, perhaps only when Yuzan Daozan returns can we explore further. Ba Wu Immortal Venerable coldly snorted, if that's the case, then this Earth Star is useless. After speaking, he tried to obliterate the Earth Star with a single palm. But you stopped him. You said that although Earth Star was not the true entrance, it had a deep connection with the Ancestral Star, and there was no need to destroy it and further antagonize the Ancestral Star's forces. The other Immortal Venerables expressed their agreement. Faced with collective disapproval, Ba Wu Immortal Venerable had no choice but to withdraw his hand and depart indifferently. Although you saved Earth Star, to prevent otherworldly Immortal Exalted from peeking into the Ancestral Star's secrets, the Immortal Venerables decided to take Earth Star, and even the entire Zhoutian domain, and carry them away. They brought them into Yuzan Mountain and placed a seal on them. As for the living beings inside, except for those on Earth Star who continued their lives as usual, all others were annihilated. These people, whether immortal kings or immortal emperors, were merely ants in the eyes of the immortal venerables. To reduce unnecessary trouble, they simply raised their hands and extinguished them. As for the living beings on Earth Star, they were colleagues of the Immortal Reverence Hall, and you were given face. Otherwise, their fate would have been the same. However, this meant that Earth Star became the only solitary living planet in the Jotian domain. There was no need to worry about aliens descending. With the Jotian domain sealed, the exploration of the ancestral star temporarily came to an end. Due to your meritorious report, the Immortal Reverence Hall credited you with a large amount of merit, enough for you to exchange for many precious items. And you naturally had something you desired. In the past, Yuzan Daozan collected many jade creation disk fragments, and after comprehending them, he placed them in the Yuzan Mountain treasury. Over the years, most of the jade creation disk fragments had already been exchanged. 559. Destroying the Tao, Tyrant Wu's calculations. Samsara is attacked, and a huge reward is invited. Your breakthrough this time was unusually low-key. However, many immortal venerables still sent congratulatory posts. Jade Universe Celestial Venerable even personally came to your door, jokingly saying with a smile, your strength is already extremely powerful, capable of fighting above your realm, and your breakthrough speed is so fast. You truly leave no room for other immortal venerables to live. You waved your hand, saying he was overpraising, and that you were merely a bit more diligent than others. Afterward, Jade Universe Celestial Venerable subtly probed your true combat power. You said that you could contend with a 6th Heaven Immortal Venerable. Jade Universe Celestial Venerable's eyes showed surprise, and he repeated, "Good," 3 times before leaving. You felt that Jade Universe Celestial Venerable's behavior was somewhat strange. You secretly followed him and found that not long after, he entered Bawu Immortal's palace. So, this old fellow was gathering information for Bawu Immortal. You hadn't expected Jade Universe Celestial Venerable and Bawu Immortal to have such a close relationship. It seems you need to be even more wary of him in the future. And that Bawu Immortal, ever since you stayed in the Mystic Sound domain for 3 years last time, he has held a grudge against you. He still hasn't given up his malicious intentions. It's fine if he doesn't come looking for trouble, but if he dares to, you will definitely let him know what the heck a surprise is. Afterward, you return to the Eternal Life Immortal Palace to continue your arduous cultivation. Currently, you have successively comprehended the yin-yang, calamity, and creation principle among the top 10 Supreme Tao principles. Among them, the yin-yang Tao principles have already been integrated into your myriad laws Tao principle. Next, you spent another 3 years integrating the calamity and creation principle into the myriad laws Tao principle. Your myriad laws Tao principle's power advanced further. Your strength also saw a slight increase, roughly by about 20%. After breaking through to Immortal Venerable, it is extremely difficult to increase one's strength. In just 3 short years, your strength increased by another 20%. If this were to be revealed, who knows how many envious gazes it would attract. Afterward, you plan to engrave the 7th rank Destruction Tao principle. The Destruction Tao principle governs the demise of all things in the world. Among the top 10 Supreme Tao principles, its offensive power ranks first. However, its utility is relatively singular, and its profundity is slightly inferior to other Tao principles, which is why its ranking appears to be much lower. As long as you master it, your strength will greatly increase. Moreover, because its utility is relatively singular, your comprehension speed will not be too slow either. 1 year later, you successfully achieved initial comprehension of the Destruction Tao principle. The moment you achieved initial comprehension, even the Eternal Life Immortal Palace silently collapsed. You had infused a considerable amount of primal chaos origin purple chi into this Eternal Life Immortal Palace. In terms of material, it was no less than an innate spirit treasure. You hadn't expected the power of the Destruction Tao principle to be even more astonishing than you had imagined. Just initial comprehension was enough to turn it into dust. If it reached major achievement or perfection, it is estimated that even an innate supreme treasure could be destroyed. With the Eternal Life Immortal Palace gone, you spent a few days rebuilding one. However, the fact that you comprehended the Destruction Tao principle could certainly not be kept a secret. For you, comprehending a supreme Tao principles is as simple as eating and drinking. Many immortal venerables privately discussed that you possess the potential of a Tao venerable. Tao venerable, that is, a great Tao venerable. which is also what is commonly referred to as a quasi-immortal emperor in the immortal domain. The title of Tao Venerable appeared before that of quasi-immortal emperor, because other epochs did not cultivate the immortal Tao. Naturally, there was no concept of a quasi-immortal emperor. And above the quasi-immortal emperor is the immortal emperor. Other epochs referred to them as the end of the great Tao, symbolizing the ultimate goal of all cultivation. As for whether there are other realms beyond the end of the great Tao, that remains unknown. In any case, for the beings of the chaos realm, the immortal emperor at the end of the great Tao is almost the ultimate goal of cultivation. Your performance was too astonishing. Other immortal venerables praising you as having the potential of a Tao venerable was already extremely high praise. After all, this epoch only has a few million years of lifespan left. And you are neither an imperial star nor are you likely to walk the demon star path. If you could break through to Tao venerable, it would already make many immortal venerables unable to catch up to you. As for the immortal emperor at the end of the great Tao, they wouldn't even dare to imagine it. Of course, while some flattered, others were restless. For example, Ba Wu Immortal, who was at odds with you. He walked back and forth in the courtyard, hands clasped behind his back, his brows tightly furrowed. Jade Universe Celestial Venerable had already told him, "You possess the strength to contend with a sixth heaven immortal venerable. If you were to comprehend the destruction Tao principle as well, then he would also be powerless against you, and might even be suppressed by you." Ba Wu Immortal's only advantage in pursuing Mystic Sound Immortal Venerable was his strength. Mystic Sound Immortal Venerable already favored you. If he even lost this advantage of strength, then he would definitely have no chance. This was something he absolutely did not want to see. No, he had to think of a way. At the very least, he couldn't let you make any further progress in this epoch. He pondered for a long time and finally thought of a malicious trick. Previously, when exploring Earth Star, the Di Xing Heavenly Tao had been almost completely analyzed by the Immortal Reverence Hall. He learned from the Di Xing Heavenly Tao that the heaven-shrouding Immortal Venerable was also a transmigrator from Earth Star, and had a deep relationship with the Di Xing Heavenly Tao. And the location of Earth Star had been actively exposed by you. He might be able to make a big fuss out of this. No one noticed that Ba Wu Immortal disappeared for a period of time. When he returned to Yuzan Mountain again, he had an expression of having victory in his grasp. More than half a month later, a large expanse of black mist suddenly appeared in the Reincarnation Heavenly Palace branch on the sixth heaven. Millions of reincarnators disappeared within it, their fates unknown. This matter quickly alarmed the Tao body responsible for guarding the Reincarnation Heavenly Palace. Your Tao body first performed a divination and found that the heavenly secrets were obscure and difficult to glimpse. The origin of this black mist was clearly extraordinary. At least, it involved a high-level immortal venerable. The 9 heavens and 10 earths is the territory of the Immortal Reverence Hall. Who would dare to play tricks here? Your Tao body felt that this matter was not simple and did not act rashly, but instead reported it to your main body. Your main body emerged from seclusion, hoping that the Immortal Reverence Hall would send someone to resolve this matter. At this moment, Ba Wu Immortal jumped out and said, "You are also a member of the Immortal Reverence Hall. If something happens on your own territory, you should investigate it yourself first, right?" He suggested that you investigate first, and if you couldn't resolve it, it wouldn't be too late to seek help from other immortal venerables. Ba Wu Immortal's words were well reasoned, leaving others with no fault to find. However, the more he acted this way, the more you felt something was amiss. You still had a good amount of contribution points left after exchanging for the Jade Creation Disc fragments last time. So, you offered these remaining contribution points as remuneration, inviting an immortal venerable to go explore first. 9 Lives Immortal was somewhat moved and stepped forward, expressing his willingness to go. Soon, he entered the black mist. 560. Entering the black fog, the wrath of the sky. Easily crushed, Xuanian came out. However, 9 Lives Immortal had not been inside for even half an hour when a scream was heard. He revived in the outside world. With this, he only had 8 lives left. For your small contribution, he suffered a huge loss. 9 Lives Immortal said with a grim expression, "There are several immortal venerables inside, who have set up a net. The one with the highest realm is an immortal venerable of the 7th heaven. An immortal venerable of the 7th heaven, in the current time and space of the chaos realm, is already a top-tier expert. As long as Emperor Demon Immortal Venerable and Yuzan Daozan do not make a move, he can basically gallop across the chaos realm. Why would such a person suddenly come to the sixth heaven and target the reincarnation heavenly palace? You thought of the shrouding heaven Immortal Venerable who escaped from the black prison. Could it be him? But even if he wanted revenge, he wouldn't come so brazenly to the territory of the Immortal Reverence Hall, would he? You sent a Tao body into the black fog. Not long after, you indeed saw shrouding heaven, wuxi, and red dust. Shrouding heaven Immortal Venerable questioned you as to why you betrayed the ancestral star. You said that Earth Star was not the ancestral star, but merely an entrance created by a strong individual from the ancestral star. Dixing Heavenly Tao gave shrouding heaven Immortal Venerable many benefits. In the end, he even gave him the jade creation disc fragments. He has feelings for Earth Star, which is understandable. You said you were different, your transmigration had no relation to Earth Star, nor did you gain any benefits from Earth Star, so Earth Star could naturally only become your bargaining chip. Shrouding heaven Immortal Venerable was furious, saying that you had been completely brainwashed by the people of the Immortal Reverence Hall, and today he would act on behalf of the heavenly Tao. Subsequently, 6 innate spirit treasures emerged. In the black fog, a complex formation evolved, trapping your Tao body. Among them, the most powerful was a 3-legged great cauldron. This was shrouding heaven Immortal Venerable's life-bound treasure, the heaven-shaking cauldron. However, you were not afraid at all. Instead, you shook your head and said, "Is this your trump card?" "It's nothing special." You shouted, "Sword, come." Instantly, over 1,000 flying swords broke through the air. Each of these immortal swords was comparable to a top-tier innate spirit treasure. The most core among them were the innate spirit treasures, the 4 immortal slaying swords. The group of flying swords formed a world-shaking, Wei Sha Jian Zhen ultimate killing sword formation. In an instant, it broke through shrouding heaven Immortal Venerable's formation. Even the black fog was swept away. Shrouding heaven Immortal Venerable coughed up blood, unable to believe it. How could you bring out so many top-tier innate spirit treasures? And all of them were immortal swords. Even if you plundered all the sword-type innate spirit treasures in the immortal realm, it probably wouldn't be enough, would it? And wuxi Immortal Venerable and Red Dust Demon Venerable, who were beside him, were even more seriously injured and on the verge of death. Shrouding heaven Immortal Venerable's gaze was gloomy, and he didn't even want the 6 innate spirit treasures, directly using the jade creation disc fragments to take the 2 of them away. If he had been any later, he probably would have been trapped there as well. However, he didn't escape far. 2 other Tao bodies, who had been ambushing for a long time, made their move, each holding an innate spirit treasure, and killed wuxi Immortal Venerable and Red Dust Demon Venerable. These 2 were shrouding heaven Immortal Venerable's left and right arms. Since you were already enemies, you had to try your best to eliminate them. Shrouding heaven Immortal Venerable roared with grief and indignation, he deeply regretted telling you the location of Earth Star. After that, he fully activated the jade creation disc fragments, escaped into the void realm, and disappeared from his original spot. The jade creation disc fragments also wanted to leave, but your 2 Tao bodies forcibly kept it using other jade creation disc fragments. Subsequently, your main body appeared and took it into your possession. This jade creation disc fragments was the largest fragment you had encountered. If you didn't already possess 3 jade creation disc fragments, it would have been very difficult to keep it. Now, with this piece, you already possess 4 jade creation disc fragments. Although it is still a long way from a complete jade plate of fortune, it can at least display a trace of the splendor of a Chaos Supreme treasure. Moreover, with your current strength, even if you were given a complete Chaos Supreme treasure, you would not be able to refine it at all. Chaos Supreme treasures are generally used by Immortal Emperors. Even the strong among the quasi-Immortal Emperors can only barely use them. What quasi-Immortal Emperors use the most are Chaos Spirit treasures. You still have a Chaos Spirit treasure obtained from the Tianwu Divine Hall, the God-slaying spear. It's just that refining it consumes too much energy, requiring at least several thousand Chaos years, which is why you have been slow to start refining it. Several thousand Chaos years would be enough time for you to improve several realms. At that time, with stronger strength, refining it would naturally be much easier. Shrouding heaven Immortal Venerable, an Immortal Venerable of the 7th heaven, had originally set up a net, but ended up fleeing in disarray with nothing, shocking all the other Immortal Venerables in the Immortal Reverence Hall. Unbeknownst to them, you had grown to such an extent. Even an Immortal Venerable of the 7th heaven was no match for you. Although your realm was only Immortal Venerable of the third heaven, your combat power was already top tier in the Immortal Reverence Hall. Powerful individuals are respected everywhere. Many Immortal Venerables unconsciously became more humble towards you. Only in a distant place, Jade Universe Celestial Venerable and Bawu Immortal Venerable's expressions were not good. Jade Universe Celestial Venerable was your guide when you joined the Immortal Reverence Hall. He originally thought that he had the best relationship with you in the Immortal Reverence Hall. He never expected that you would still hide a hand from him. You said that you only had the strength of an Immortal Venerable of the sixth heaven, but the result was a slap in his face. There's no need to mention Bawu Immortal Venerable. The incorrect intelligence from Jade Universe directly led to his failure. Not only did he fail to severely injure you, but he also allowed you to obtain several innate spirit treasures and a Jade creation disc fragments. How could he be in a good mood? At this moment, there were various celestial maidens scattering flowers phenomena in the void realm. A peerlessly beautiful figure arrived on the scene. It was Mystic Sound Immortal Venerable, who had been in seclusion for a long time. At this time, her aura was far stronger than before. Clearly, the creation principle had been inscribed in her ancestral court, allowing her to successfully break through to Immortal Venerable of the eighth heaven. Originally, Mystic Sound Immortal Venerable was one of the top Immortal Venerables in the Immortal Reverence Hall. Now that she had broken through to Immortal Venerable of the eighth heaven, she was undoubtedly the #1 person. Yaoqi Jade Mother, seeing this, felt a little emotional. As fellow innate goddesses, she had once broken through to Immortal Venerable before Zan Yin. She never expected that Zan Yin would later surpass her, with her strength far exceeding hers. Mystic Sound Immortal Venerable looked at you with an appreciative gaze and said, I arrived here long ago, intending to help, but I didn't expect you to resolve it so easily. You coughed and said, I also didn't expect Shrouding Heaven Immortal Venerable to be so weak. Invisible showing off is the most fatal. The other Immortal Venerables looked at you with resentment. Is Shrouding Heaven Immortal Venerable weak? He was someone personally suppressed by you Zan Daozhen. But with your recent achievements, you were indeed qualified to say such a thing. In front of you, Shrouding Heaven Immortal Venerable's performance was indeed a bit inferior.